What's going on? What's going on? Thank you all for joining me today, man. We got a great discussion. The title is The Fight to Reclaim Our Health. So let me make sure everybody can hear me. If you can give me a 5 by 5 that you're here and you can hear me, what's going on? Appreciate all of you all joining in. Got a special guest with me, Brother Days of Noah. You all know him from his main channel, but today you're going to know him from his health channel, Making Moves. We got to definitely drop that link for you all, get you all over there because he's about to set it off. Give me 1 second. Let me pull that up actually. But we got a good discussion, man. It's a lot of things to talk about concerning environmental toxicity, concerning nutritional deficiencies, and how we are designed by our creator, by God, to interpret our bodies and know what's happening, and how there's been this deception about using institutions and other perceptions of ways to know what's going on in our body. We have to remember it's our body. And that's why you saw I put a quote on the top on the title. It says take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live, because indeed our bodies are just vessels for our real self, our souls. And through a sound mind and through the regenerated spirit in Christ, we can know how to take care of our bodies, how to work within create God's creation as we were designed to do, and we can overcome all this programming and indoctrination. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to give what's going on. I see everybody jumping in here. We're going to give you a breakdown of, a lot of our anecdotal experiences and things we've learned health wise. And we're going to break down basic concepts, give you a general overview of everything. And we're just going to have to, we're just going to talk, man. We're just going to really share things with you all and have a good time uh, sharing information about our health. So let's get right to it. I'm going to bring in our brother Days of Noah. What's going on, bro?
Peace, peace. What's up, man?
Man, it's great to have you here, man.
Yeah,
We've been
man.
trying to put this together for a long time, but we've been so busy. And then we have, everything else going on, but we knew it was going to happen. A lot of stuff is always working in the background.
Yes, amen to that. We stay working, building. But it's nice to get together and finally get this cracking. Busy is an understatement, right? When you're juggling several channels, not to
What?
mention life, right?
I'm
So
telling you, man.
yeah, man. Yeah,
I'm
man.
gonna drop your channel in here, Making Moves, man, because that's exactly what's about to happen. Making moves, man. We both are very health motivated. It's always been a part of our lifestyle, part of our living. And so, a lot of things that we've learned, we've been doing this stuff for a long time, you know?
Yes.
Not to say that we haven't had our our rough days and our young days about eating all the wrong foods and drinking and doing things like that. But we've learned how to. First of all, we've been set free from a lot of that from our faith. Until we just don't have really a desire to engage in that. And now it seems like we have this joy and this peace that comes from taking care of ourselves. Can you relate to that?
Yes, yes. I like this idea. I'm gonna switch this to a different screen just so I can get more comfortable.
Okay.
But I agree, man. That's a perfect way to put it because a lot of pain, stress, and frustration comes with like say a bad diet, unhealthy environments. These things put stress on the mind, the body, and I would argue the spirit as well. So yeah, I would agree 100%. It transforms your experience, and it's just a blessing to have the ability to come to the truth. When we talk about truth, there's many truths, and I don't mean by your truth is your truth and my truth is my truth. I just mean that there's many aspects to truth, and I think there's a major truth aspect to diet and lifestyle. And I
Right.
think
Right.
that's something it's my belief, and this is something that I'm going to be promoting quite a bit on my health channel, is that life. is spiritual at its root, and it's also physical, and it's also mental or intellectual. So I think
Definitely.
there always has to be some type of overall healthy and stable foundation spiritually. But with that being said, there is the physical and the mental aspect. So we need to be right in our minds, honest intellectually, but also living physically, uh living like a physical truth. You know what I'm saying? Where
Definitely.
you're putting the right things in your body. You're making it, you're putting forth effort to get the right amount of sleep,
Man, so true.
rest, water, as well as moments in time for reflection, which is an aspect of lifestyle that contributes significantly to health, right? And when I say that, I mean absent of devices, absent
Yes.
of objects. I mean, give your type, and I ain't talking about go and do some new agey meditation.
Not at
I'm
all,
talking
man.
about just sitting down and just thinking about life and self, and being thankful and gratitude, etc.
Hey, man, well said, man. Well said. So let me go through and give a few shout outs. I see we got people joining. We got a lot of familiar faces in here. What's going on? Dale Griffith, good to see you. Speak Uneasy, man. What's going on? Tyra, Tony from Yonkers. What's going on? Ray Ban. Let's see. Running Shelly, Tekarika Styles, Matt Mittens, Cookie Cruncher, SJ, Soft Sands, Diz Loot. These names.
I love it.
uh, Latina, yeah, man. Latina and Cali, Daniel, Alexander. What's going on, Jake? And JP, what's going on? That brother plays the piano like crazy,
Oh
man.
yeah.
Yeah, man. He's uncool paranoia. That's his sister. So he's great, man. What's going on, Hal Schmidt, man? Always a pleasure, man. So let's
Kyle
get
Schmidt
right
in the
to
house.
yeah. What's up to that brother, man? Let's get right to it. You know, the last 3 years, man. What can I say? It's been a long time happening. We've all been indoctrinated on some level. What's going on, Donald Flegg? Let me say this before we get started. We're not medical professionals.
At
This is
all.
not. You should be happy, right? This is not medical advice. It is for educational and informational purposes only. We're giving you our experience and we're just sharing information about the topic of health. So, if you want to contact someone else, I would prefer naturopathic or holistic or whatever you would, something that teaches you how to really know your body. But inevitably, this is our personal responsibility. Our health is a journey that you learn as you go along, and with the proper foundation for us, with this our biblical faith in Christ, to have a sound mind, to be set free from addictions and this need to pollute ourselves with the world, because honestly, that's a lot of the psychological effects of being in this world, is that we pollute ourselves thinking that this stuff is fun, and then we come to this understanding about what's really happening to us, even on the spiritual level, man. The stresses, the dopamine. We know about social media and dopamine effect, and it's just a lot going on. Even stress, man, like cortisol, this word stress hormone. Yeah, of course, there's a natural range of good stress, to build, but there's this unhealthy stress that a lot of people are being bogged down and the worries of this world, because we're not living within the right worldview, and we're allowing ourselves to be beat down and worried ourselves to death and stressing about the wrong things, when we have the biblical worldview to structure ourselves to really persevere, overcome, learn, and grow from everything that happens, good or bad, in this world, man. So, yeah, anything else you want to jump before we go ahead and knock this out?
Um, I guess following up on what you're saying or just supporting it, yeah, I think one major aspect of this, I guess, adherence to a healthy lifestyle or even a desire to do such thing is based in the biblical worldview, in that we are appreciative of and honoring our temples, that we've been given, and I'm not necessarily trying to ground this in any particular scripture, but I think it almost goes without saying. Just like there's a nature, just like God has a nature, I think our temples have a nature as well. And I think a part of that nature is responsibility and accountability to preserving it, uh, re in, in within reason. You know what I'm saying? Within reason.
Well said, man. And look, man, I'm telling you all, there's been a level of cognitive dissonance, a level of denying the obvious, the self-evident. Like I always brought up this topic of environmental toxicity, the fact that our environment is corrupted and it's not corrupted naturally. We can look up in the sky on any given day, and we see things that we know shouldn't be there. I mean, for those of you all 40 and over, you remember the sky, and what real clouds look like, and how you had rain clouds and you had clear sunny days, a really blue sky. You really had this nice sunset, not this stench of mold or whatever else is in it. And we know that the air is another way that foundationally we have to breathe. So the air is a good way to corrupt our bodies.
Mm.
And so most people want to deny that because, of course, you can't speak plainly on some of these things. I'm just laughing at his comment. He says the insult to be called a so-called professional these days. Yeah, it is,
So
because
called. Yeah.
a lot of people have been. Here's the thing: what's the value of having knowledge if all your knowledge is an indoctrination of lies? Like, what is the value of saying you're an expert of false narratives and theories that are not even proven, not even close to being proven? And this is why, if you go back 50, 100 years, even especially 100 years, people knew how to take care of themselves.
Mm.
First of all, the society was structured different, where there was a balanced family structure, where there was passed down knowledge from the elders of how to go out in the yard and pick certain things. Everybody's familiar with dandelion root, a very potent liver detoxifier that we're told is a weed. I grew up. I remember, yeah, man. I remember growing up seeing these yellow flowers with these little um, funny leaves on them. It's like, man, these things are everywhere, man.
Mhm.
And then people told you this is a weed. I'm like, weed, and I'm just thinking, no, you try to pull this up. This thing is going to choke out your grass, because we have this Truman Show mindset of your lawn has to be looked manicured and perfect, and everything else that's not what you're told is a bad thing. And come lo and behold, this is one of the most potent uh, herbal things you can take to, they say, stop what is interpreted as a cancer in the body or some kind of abnormal growth, or
Mm.
just detox the liver, which is a foundational part of detoxing and removing any toxic substances out of our bodies. Because the air, if it's corrupted, you have to detox. So before we get started about environmental toxicities, how did you relate, through your life, about relaying how you view what's happening in this environment?
How do I answer that? Can you give it to me a little more
Yeah. Well,
a little more concise? That's a hard one.
considering, because I know our heyday was really, as children, the '80s, so we can
Yes.
relate to going out, being able to play in the ground, and
Hmm.
going outside and having fun, getting sun, and being outside and sweating. And now it's like, from that time period to now, it's like, well, I don't, depending on where you are in the world, because it's worse some places. Like, I know over here, man, if we get 2 sunny days in a row, we're going to see some kind of engineering happening, where the sky has this little haze and this fog, and people start, talking about this everything else, allergies. But we all know that there's other things happening right here. So, in terms of when did your awareness of the environment and toxicity come to your mind?
Oh, okay, I see. Well, I mean, I guess technically it really came to my mind when I was studying for the first time a lot of these areas, especially things like chemtrails. I think studying chemtrails really opened me up to a lot as far as this more current stuff is. But honestly, I've always, well, not always, but early in my life, I was
And
uh
we better not say that word. We better say
which word?
the trails. We better call
Oh,
them.
damn. Oh, my bad.
No,
Yeah,
no, you good.
that's a bad word, huh?
Yeah, man. But you know, we you know
Okay,
we're just expressing what we've been heard and what we're told of certain things. So
okay. My
yeah,
bad.
no, you good, you
I
good.
gotta put my my code word hat on real
Man,
quick.
unfortunately, bro. You
So for me, like I was opened up to these ideas of environmental toxins through my studies in college, especially m- coming from a very like social justice education system. You know, I was exposed to these ideas of how uh, what is it called? I can't remember the exact term they use, but it's a type of racism, they would say, right? It's
mhm,
this what you find is that there are certain populations of ethnic and racial groups that tend to live in areas that are highly polluted. For instance, you'll find a lot of lower income communities living in areas surrounded by factories, for instance,
exactly.
and all types of different environmental toxic environments that that seem to have a correlation with even something like race, you know,
Mhm.
and socioeconomic status. So I was exposed to a lot of this stuff early in college and like right after high school, and a lot of readings I was doing and focusing more on like social problems in relation to black liberation and a lot of these things that you know I'm like from the school of Malcolm X, like originally, you know, that's like what really got me into researching society and people's um I remember my mom took me to see Malcolm X when I was 12, I think, uh, at the movie theater, and I had already had the autobiography, and you know, I was young, so it's not like I really understood
Right,
everything
right.
very well. So I was excited to see the film, and it really kind of opened me up to like just the shadiness of politics, shadiness of governments, you know, and you know, as they say, you know, oh, black people are inherently conspiracy theorists because you know they have a history of being conspired against, and there's some of that that's actually very true, right?
Right,
Because
right.
most of us very early in life learn how shady this society is with regard to things like race. Now, of course, a lot of it can be misrepresented, and then you get total toxic movements like BLM and all this crap later, right?
Oh my goodness.
But there are some things that you know there are some significance to some of these things, and it's not just black people. I mean, if you look at some of these very impoverished communities, I mean, go to the what is it, the Ozarks as an example. You know, go to different parts of the Midwest, and you'll find a lot of large, quote unquote, so-called white communities that have been living generations in some of these highly environmentally toxic communities. So it's clearly not rooted in race, but that's just how I was kind of introduced to some of these
Right.
ideas. So I was aware of a lot of these things very early on. But what really got me waking up even more is fluoride, the whole fluoride thing for sure. And
Definitely.
I got to watch talking about that too, huh? So yeah, that stuff in the water, stuff in the
Yeah.
water, guys, and things in the sky. I have to admit, Alex Jones opened me up to a whole lot of things, like early 2010s, maybe around 2008, 2009. You know, I was exposed to a lot of these things, so that's kind of what opened me up. But really, what kind of forced me to change my ways are just you know having health problems early in life, you know, and having to retract some of my lifestyle practices, you know, being one that spent a lot of time partying and just doing too much, you know, it catches up with you, especially you know when you start early. You know, I was in the Bay Area, we had clubs for 16-year-olds, okay?
Oh man.
So I was at the club at like just turned 16, you know, just doing
Yeah.
way too much, man. So we were exposed to a lot of things too early, and you know, not until my 30s, like my early 30s, did I really start figuring out, okay, I gotta. I've always been in the gym and that kind of stuff, but that's nothing. It's really about what you're putting in your body
I'm telling you.
and what you're doing day to day, what you're putting in your mind, you know. So yeah, that's kind of how it started. And then the more you dig into some of these, oh, and then like Rockefeller, the American Medical Association research, and oh, that really opened everything up, bro. Once I
Man.
did the AMA research and the
Mhm.
APA, and man, listen,
It gets deep, man.
it gets deep. And after
It's
that,
a
I was like, okay, I see it now. It's way way deeper than I ever imagined. And then, I went into studying big sugar, in like say 2010. I was researching big sugar, and that's when I started doing low carb and like really trying to cut out sugar and stuff like that. And I started researching, the diseases, cancers and AIDS, and started seeing how we were
Mhm.
lied to about a lot of those things. And
Mhm.
yeah, man. And then eventually, what really convinced me was when I started to heal some of my ailments by
Oh, man.
changing my diet and doing things differently day to day, and not putting certain things on my skin, and just having things kind of correct themselves as a response to that. So,
Isn't that amazing that the body is so regenerative and it can be resilient when you change fundamental things, beginning with us, faith, because your mind is a construct of your faith and how you deal with and what you tend to believe and trust from the world is very intuitive to our faith. Because once we realize that this world has a certain spiritual agenda, it kind of opened our eyes to understand that nothing is really true coming from this world. It's all a perception of people who live for the world and not necessarily and people who are of the world. But once we come out of the world and we realize that these institutions and the political agendas of this world and what's really going on through the, like you say, the educational system, the modern medical system, and all these institutions and how they're actually trying to control and suppress information and suppress awareness of without the actual vitality of the human body. Because I tell people all the time, why do we think they have to do so much? Because the vitality, I mean, the Bible says we are wonderfully and fearfully made. That means that there's something amazing about us because we come from a creator. We don't come from a singularity, a monkey, a rock, or whatever. Life doesn't come from non-life. And everybody logically knows that. But we come from a life giver. We come from something beyond our comprehension. And once we understand that, then we understand why there's so much effort to nullify and negate our actual vitality and our body's actual resiliency and ability to regenerate and heal. Um, changing up your diet, nutritional deficiencies. Look what's happening in the food supply right now.
mhm,
Why is so much food low nutritionally deficient? We understand the ideas of soils and with their spraying on the food supply and the GMO, the modification of the food supply. All of this is creating this counterfeit, or what I call fake food. It's not
mhm,
real food, and what it does is it fills your body with chemicals, empty calories, and things that do not give it what it needs to do what it needs to do. Because fasting, of course, spiritually, helps to suppress the flesh, but fasting actually allows the body to do naturally what it does without our interference. It recycles. It helps the recycling process. They call it autophagy
mhm,
and you know metabolic detox on a cellular level. Like when I understood what a fever actually was and how
mm,
old people knew that you want to how you break the fever is kind of by encouraging it because it's your body is heating up to detox your cells on a metabolic level. So of course you don't want to maintain a high fever, but your body's doing it because that process helps to get rid of very deep toxins on a cellular level, that the regular process like, sweating and urination and all these other ways, it struggles to get rid of. And
and
we're
imagine we'll take medications
oh man.
to lower the fever. Now, I do understand sometimes, especially with children, fevers
Hmm.
can be high
Definitely.
enough to be concerned about life, right?
Right.
So I do understand, especially when people are young children. It's like, of course, they got a 104. That's scary. You're gonna want to do something about that.
Right.
But generally speaking, yeah, it's amazing when you find out how these symptoms are
Hmm.
just ways our body's communicating. But we've been brought up in a system that has in a sense conditioned us to believe that these symptoms are inherently bad and need to be removed or ended or something, as if our body's making the mistake, and the medicines are fixing the body. That
Exactly.
to me is fascinating. And another one of these kind of like awakening ideas. And I also think of like industrialism, right? When you're asking
Hmm.
like what made you realize some of these things. Another thing was just my research in, I guess history and sociology, economics, when we think of the Industrial Revolution and how it just uprooted all of the older ways of living that you were describing as you opened up the show. And it makes sense because there was a time where we were a lot more independent, right?
Yes.
We were a lot more in touch with nature. We were a lot more in touch with our own food, whether that be growing our own food or sourcing it locally. There's more of a local, just in general, things were more
Community.
localized, which
Yes.
which contributed to uh, the ability to fend for oneself and to eat clean and to eat healthy, to know what you're eating, to know where your food's coming from, right? So industrialization really transformed that whole thing by turning the system, or should we say, turning eating, feeding your family, and food in general into a system, right? So for me, that was a big one when I realized, wow, food has become an industry, and this
Yes.
this changed my whole view on what I should eat and how I should go about eating, and how I should go about seeing or perceiving industries and food companies and even stores and stuff like that. Now the hard part is, of course, time. Time's always an issue. Discipline's always an issue, right? So
Definitely.
we all tend to have issues with discipline, staying on top of our diets, eating right. It's I to this day, man. I don't care how healthy I've become over time. It's still a struggle. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
man. Like, there's plenty of times where I don't feel like doing any kind of anything physical. I don't want to do nothing. I just want to sit and read or just relax. And some people are different. Some people are more active. I'm far less. I have to push myself to do these things, but it's still struggle. Still struggle to stay on top of diets, even though it's become somewhat of a habit. It never goes away. We're always going to be in the flesh. I don't care how far
Yes.
you've come, don't ever let up. and,
It did.
we're all different. Some people have more discipline than others, right? Some of
Right.
us suffer a lot more, but still. So yeah, industrialization, man, I think just transformed things because it turned food and even housing into systems, but it also uh, it also changed people. Like, it changed. You could think of the development of cities, and like just how it how what it did was it created a type of learned helplessness, right? We start to
Yes.
rely on these big major systems to bring us all of these things like food and water and security and uh, waste management. I mean, all of these things. So for me, I really look at it as an issue of the Industrial Revolution and how it turned um, things that we used to have control over into commodities and took them out of the hands and the I guess the will of the people. And in that process, people people adapted to that and started to become dependent on that. And of course, when we think about capitalism, not to say I'm anti-capitalism, but we have to be honest about the systems that
Right. Definitely.
these are. When growth, development, expansion is the end all, that's all going to jeopardize things like tradition, things like
Hmm.
localism, right?
Integrity. Yeah.
Integrity, right? When it's all about making the most money and scaling a business, those things are going to not be important, and even quality is going to no longer be important. So I think, in my view, that's kind of one of the biggest issues is everything is being so industrialized and systematized such that we're so far removed from just natural living, not just eating.
Yeah. That's a great point because if you brought up growing your own food and knowing what you're eating and we understand the United Nations Sustainable Development. Oh, and I wanted to bring up yes, you sparked so many ideas, and so my brain has to go backtrack. So you made me think of the Hegelian dialectic. We all know that in this modern age, the use of crises. What did they say? Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like every time there's a engineered crises. It's a grab of personal sovereignty, a grab of our services and resources that we once could do for ourselves within local communities and families. And we're turning over all this stuff to corporations and government. And as a result of that, like farming, for example, even in my lifetime, um, my great uncles understood farming and they were out there raising animals and food and they were eating from the land to the table. It was no middle person. In fact, people came to them
Yeah.
to get some of their food, and that was kind of the local economy. And I remember he had to go out and he had to, quote unquote, fight Congress and try to protect farming because there was so much regulation and whatever's going on, basically to try to bankrupt those who would maintain a honest farming ethic. You know what I'm saying? There was a sabotaging of that going on through corporations,
Mhm.
and this corporate farming has replaced local family-owned farms where people knew what was in the food, or like the soils, and if they were using heirloom seeds and all this information. And now, shoot, man, you don't know what you're eating just because
Exactly.
we all know about the GMO seeds or bioengineered or whatever word they want to come up with and deflect from the fact that it's not. And I don't even like using the word natural because that's been
Wow.
corrupted.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? It's not the way God created it. It's
Let me add to that. You're right. It's
sure,
not the way
sure.
God created it. But what's interesting is, as they've created these systems in these industries, things have become economically based, corporate based, system based, right? Taken
Hmm.
away from the people, right? Taken away from the general population. But we've gone from that to being system corporate economically based to now technological.
Man.
So this transition is fascinating because now when we've over time we've taken these and I'm going to use this even though clearly it's misused. This natural way of eating and living has been taken away by corporation and economy and
Hmm.
systems, but now it's getting away from nature itself.
Right.
Isn't that fascinating?
It's
So
scary.
think
It's
about this.
fascinating, but it's
Well,
it's actually it's
it's
it's very
disturbing.
scary that they actually want to get away from the way things are. Like, for example,
You take
to
nature from people and
mhm,
then take the nature from nature.
man,
That's crazy.
yeah, it's like, okay, you think about the way people used to fish, and forget the fact that you need a permit to fish. That is a whole different issue. The fact that it's personal sovereignty and basic services that we could do for ourselves now require permits to go out
Mhm.
and fish in open waters. Like, why do you need permission to do these things, to go into the ocean and feed yourself? Why is all the land being privatized? If you notice, like around here, I don't know if it's like this in other areas, but in some urbanized area, we have a lot of trees, but none are fruit trees.
Mm.
So they only put male trees with no female trees. Just with however trees produce, there's only male trees that produce no fruit. And so when we have the season, I mean, and I'm going to talk about pollen because that's going to segue into what are allergies really and what they're not. But if you notice that fruit trees, if you go to tropical climates or other cultures or other areas, they have fruit trees everywhere. You can literally grab fruit growing off the tree. You don't need to
Bro,
go to a grocery store.
that's how we grew up. I remember going
Yeah.
around town and just picking fruit and all like summertime we're out, we leave in the morning, we come back
Hmm.
home when the lights come on.
Right.
Throughout the day, we don't need to bring food or not. We just eating off the trees and stuff.
Yeah. My
I
neighbor,
mean, that's
my
how it
neighbor
was.
growing,
That's
yeah, my
crazy.
my neighbor growing up had an apple tree, and every year, my grandmother and I would go out there and we just gather with her neighbor, and gather apples, eat, make pies,
Mhm.
make all these things that we used to do. And now it's like, find someone local who has an apple tree in the yard, or if you don't live in a tropical area, this is temperate.
Wow.
I'm in the mid Atlantic, so you won't find no apple trees nowhere around. You used to find strawberries, all these things people used to grow, but now you don't. You have to go to a store.
Yeah.
And the problem with the food that you go to the store with, it's refrigerated, means that it's coming a long distance. It's
Mhm.
being chemically right.
Mhm.
It's not. And then once the longer the food's in cold storage, the more quality and a life essence the fruit loses, because
It's outside of its natural environment.
exactly. We were designed to eat fruit like freshly picked off of the tree, not to put it in cold storage for a few days and travel hundreds of thousands of miles to another grocery store. The way is we don't live from our local communities is insane. And local communities should have its own environment to sustain itself. We don't need to get food from different countries. People literally, where you grew up with has a lot of the natural growing herbs and foods that our body has from, and I don't like talking about epigenetics and stuff, but from a standpoint, we where we grew up is how our body, the food, local food from that natural area can help us. Like if you live.
Do you think there's something to epigenetics?
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
okay, okay, because I do
Yeah,
too. Okay.
yeah, I do. But you just got to separate from the, you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of truth in a lot of these things, but the world is promoting it in a way where it's going overboard, and we're losing the basic foundation of what these things represent to these theoretical things. I'm just trying to separate. Yes,
I
there
got
is an epigenetic application there, but I just want to separate from the fanatical, extra whatever that's
you.
being
Sure.
added on, where people are just believing some insane stuff. Because we know
Yeah, yeah.
these days, man,
It's hard to talk about anything, man, without being
yeah, yeah,
misrepresented, misunderstood. Oh, you're
exactly,
saying that's not what I'm saying. Oh, you're
exactly.
saying no, I'm not. That's not what.
Yeah, see, Laura Strobel says that we are meant to eat seasonally. That's a good
Yeah,
example of what I'm
seasonal
trying to
eating.
say.
Yeah,
Yes, we're and certain things grow certain times of the year, and it helps our body during that time. Even how the symptoms manifest through a certain rhythm, where imagine our body being created with a certain resonance and rhythm in relationship with our environment.
yeah,
And people would say, and no one will think that that's a real thing because it's not promoted in the medical institutions. But to give an example, those who are women, if women get along during their monthly cycles, if they can synchronize that, that's a good way of resonance of where people come together and your body responds to what's around you. And it's in a way that is not really studied or not really recognized. Just like certain times of the year, like for example, when one person's body is detoxing, of course, this is an idea that I've heard many people who have a naturopathic approach to the body talk about, is that when one person's body is detoxing, it sends like a resonance to another body to detox doing that same, because it's almost like a detection of something in a localized environment. Like if one person has a symptom, we have a shared environment. So, it's kind of making that logical connection that, okay, if we have the same symptoms and we share an environment, that's one of the first markers we need to look at. Maybe something's in the air, maybe something's in the water, maybe it's the food we ate, maybe it's a lot of practical things before we go to theory, which requires us to trust institutions to interpret our health for us. And we miss this practical application that you can just almost reverse engineer. Like, for example, I don't really get headaches no more now that I have a greater understanding of my body and health, but I used to. And I used to be like, okay, why am I getting headaches? And then I would re-engineer, okay, did I drink enough water? What did I eat? Did I eat sugar before I ate food? What kind of food did I eat? And I'm starting to kind of, go through and filter out at my whole day, my whole lifestyle, where I started to see things that needed to be altered, changed, or removed. And people are not thinking like that no more. As soon as you have a symptom, the first place people go is for a secondary opinion. They don't think about their own body and what they did themselves in that instance. Like, I tell people, I used to get headaches, years ago. I used to get headaches a lot. And I was like, what is going on? And then I started to detox. I started to change my diet more. I started to know when to work out, when to rest. Of course, I've been growing in my faith. So um, my body just relaxes overall. The importance of sleep as you get older becomes very apparent. And I started just making these changes that are so simple and practical. And now I just don't have issues that people have chronically. And I used to have too. Like I was born with gastrointestinal issues. Like my stomach was completely screwed
likewise.
up.
Yeah,
And, my mother wasn't the most responsible when I was born. So, it manifested through a lot of things that, of course, institutions had all kinds of names and labels for. And thought I was told and through tradition to take all these things that just maintain a level of sickness, but didn't help me to overcome or remedy or any get through it. And I just got tired. I was like, something's not right.
yeah,
So I started to like, of course, read and talk to people who have good health and just share information, just have a better awareness of what's going on in this world. And I started to just see, like, okay, what's the difference between uh, milk, butter now than it was then. Like people on the farm, I used to grow up on a farm, so well, not grow up, but I was there. I'm almost grew up on one because my grandparents raised me, so I was there uh, more than I was in the city growing up. But it was interesting that I saw them, they how they cared with the cattle. They raised it. They didn't put steroids and hormones and they controlled what they fed these animals and they were raised with care. They
And they
weren't
weren't
crowded.
traumatized.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they weren't traumatized and crowded
Yeah.
and put in unsterilized, unsanitary environments where they had to put some kind of quote unquote antibiotics. That's a whole different term. We're not even getting on in
Yeah.
these animals that just causes illness in the animals. So people are literally getting like products from sick animals.
Yes.
And that's why they have to flash pasteurize or boil this. When you boil something like milk, you're killing all the vital proteins of it. You're destroying it. You're
All of it.
denaturing the protein.
Yeah.
And the fats can't be boiled like that. So and people there's no awareness. Like people, even if you talk about raw milk, like there's people who drink it. Of course, if you, it's better if you have your own farm source or you locally know the people and it's a farm where you can go and see what's going on. People, I grew up with my grandparents just getting milk directly from the cow and there was no process. You didn't have to put eggs in the fridge. Matter of fact, the whole concept of the fridge, why is the fridge getting bigger? Because, when you grew up, you had the freezer was big because you slaughtered the animal for the meat and you
Speak
stored it for
on
meat.
it, man. Yeah.
But the fridge was not big because you kind of picked your food daily, or at least weekly. But it wasn't like you stored up food and it had to have all these preservatives that where it stayed for 2 or 3 weeks. Like I tell people, if you have fruits or bread or whatever that can last 2 or 3 weeks,
Mm.
it's full of preservatives.
Yeah. I mean,
Make your own bread.
just think about eggs. I mean, for those that are aware, when we got eggs, or we got chickens on a farm, I
Hmm.
mean, you can let them things sit outside as long as they got that natural, fluid and dirt on them. You don't have to
Yes.
refrigerate those eggs, right? So yeah, it's just getting away from the natural way of things has
Yes.
it's disconnected people from themselves, their bodies, as well as their diets. And I think it really needs to come down to this: we have lost touch with our relationship to food. And when I say that, I
Hmm.
mean our relationship to environment, because our food comes from the environment, right? We forget that food comes from an environment because we're so used to food coming from a store or a factory or some kind of processing factory or something. When we think of food, we think of, like the middleman,
Hmm.
that's serving it. We don't think about its source. And I do understand it's a matter of region, right? Because where I'm at now, I got access to all of these things because I'm living in an area that's far less technological, not urban at all. So it's more of a throwback way of life. So it's very easy to see fruit on trees. I go to the farmers market every other weekend. I got access to any kind of farm product I could ever want, right? But that's just because of a specific location that I happen to be in now. But when you think of like urbanized places, you get food deserts, which
Yes.
I lived many years in food deserts. There's there's no farmers markets. Like you said, there's no damn trees anywhere. I showed on my show not too long ago. They're trying to suggest that we get liquid trees,
Oh
right?
my goodness.
You're
Yeah, I
hearing of
seen
that.
that food. Oh my goodness.
Liquid trees. So it's not just there's not any fruit trees. There's no trees. Okay. So you shop out of convenience stores. It's a food desert. So it depends
Yes.
on where you live, right? The problem
Hmm.
is these food deserts, these urbanized regions are massive and they're
Right.
highly saturated with people, right? Not only that, they're slowly moving us more and more into these urbanized, highly populated
And we know
locations,
why.
and we know why. Smart cities being their
Yep.
next version, or should we say their next sales point. Hey, look, you're gonna get this really nice, pretty, stale, technological and fancy, state of the art box to live in,
Yes.
and you're
Yep.
gonna have all the food ordered
Food,
from
quote
your
unquote.
device, and it'll just knock on your door. They'll even slide it under the door, like we're living in some prison or something. So
Yeah.
this is the move. And it speaks directly against what we're talking about, getting back engaged with where food comes from. Now, okay, let's say you live in one of these environments. What am I going to do? I have no access to a farmer's market. You know what I mean? I can't get raw milk. It's illegal in my state.
Right.
I can hardly even find any good produce because we don't have any nice sized grocer within a 6 block radius of where I live. I have to actually travel just to find something clean. Whole Foods is hard to come by. I don't have any space. I have nowhere to grow food. Now,
Hmm.
you can grow some stuff on a balcony. I've done it before, but still, it's difficult, and you got to
Yeah,
deal with
it's difficult.
weather, and everyone's not a green thumb. I'm not.
And soil, food grown in
Soil's an
soil.
issue. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and just if you have good soil, and that's another thing because with the heavy metals and et cetera in the air, it matriculates down to the soils, and the soils collect these metals and all these things but it's amazing what you said, like soil deficiency or the mineral deficiency in soils now because of how society industrialization has changed our terrain. It's like
Yes.
we're destroying the soils now to even grow food. You have to have rich soils. If you notice that, why do they put all the cities near the oceans, near the water? Because the land near the water is actually more fertile, because the ocean water kind of replenishes the water table. The sea has a whole bunch of minerals that kind of filter in off the ocean. So that whole area, and what they call, especially on both coasts, they have all these cities lining up the coast. But if people actually lived there and there was communities there, the soil will be richer. But now it's a concrete jungle, and then they want to push you to the urban area, which you know you can talk about weather mod and all that, causing droughts and floods. Where that's the farming belt that's being decimated right now,
Exactly.
and it's
That's
like,
how they're doing it, through the
yeah,
weather engineering. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
and it's obvious. I mean, look, hurricanes have been a normal occurrence since most of us can remember, but there's something weird going on these days. And even in New York City, recently I heard they had some crazy weather event, flooding event in New York City that a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
people, it was
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, granted,
Crazy.
I get a concept because living on the East Coast, I know about kind of nor'easter type deals when the cold front, low pressure develops and all that, but just the way this happened and the way that I don't know. Oh, this Stephen Delay. What's going on, bro? And a lot of
Hey,
people,
shout out to bro Steven.
yeah, and a lot of people, they don't kind of understand meteorology, but I kind of did. The way these storms are forming is weird. If you just look at how they formed, 20, 30 years ago to now, it's a little weird. And
Makes
look,
no sense to me. Yeah.
and I'm telling, it's just weird because let me tell you, even that so-called hurricane that came up the Baja, that's a very unusual path for a hurricane to take. Usually, of course, it was a tropical system by the time it went into the Los Angeles area, but it was just odd that there was this anomalous high pressure system in the middle of the country, and we know that the HAARP people or HARP or whatever they got in Alaska, they create these subtropical, we call them ridges of high pressure, or these calm blocking winds in the upper atmosphere that block storm patterns. And I know Texas, before they had like rain, they had this extreme drought in the center of the country where it was like excessively hot and the storms were being steered around this high pressure system. And that's what steered that Hurricane Hillary, with the name, right?
Mhm.
Right up
Right.
that area, right up the Baja into a very unusual area. Even Las Vegas has been getting some unusual rainfalls, and see, people don't understand. Like we put the information out there. I put it on my community tab that they have planned to control um, weather. I can probably pull that up. I don't know if I should, but to control the weather by, what was it, 2025? Like,
Yeah.
this is a very normal thing coming from the military. This is not a fringe site. This is directly from the military. And to control, and I say control the weather lightly because we know God is sovereign and He's orchestrating all this to happen within His the divine will and the big transcendent purpose that those in Christ know and those who don't will find out. But it's a lot going on to control where food can be grown, how food can be grown, access to even Hawaii, the displacement of people, large
Mhm.
populations because of certain things. We also saw the fires. The fire was like a twofold thing. It's destroying the environment, and it's messing with the air. And even that whole thing, is it really trees? Is it something else? Is the fire deflection from something else? And let me tell you, it's a lot of good reason to think like this, because we've all smelled burning wood before,
Mhm.
and we all smelled burning plastic before, and it's a very distinct difference in the smell of wood and plastic or chemicals. And I remember I saw an article where they said that they have this aluminum, this nano aluminum that they're spraying that acts as an accelerant. And it's crazy. People in Hawaii said before their event happened, they felt a mist on a clear day falling from the sky. And I'm just wondering, could this been this some kind of accelerant to cause, whatever you call it, an energy weapon, you can call it whatever. Who knows what's really going on out here? Like I said, man, I see it what you all see. I have information and references, but because of the way the internet is structured right now, we can't make any definitive um, things about anything. But we can put the things out there. We can put the pieces together, and those with a critical mind can put them together. We'll put the pieces out there. So there's a lot. Yeah, gotta be. Yeah, Rayman knows. Gotta be careful talking about this stuff. That's why and people don't understand. Like we make this kind of look easy, but it's very difficult to communicate information in this age. Considering social media platforms, new guidelines, it's very difficult. I want to. You can jump in if you want, because I
Oh
want to.
yeah, yeah. I was just gonna add on and say one. If you're blessed enough to live in an area that might have, uh, let's say, a non-urban area, right? If you're blessed enough to live near farms or on a farm, or even more suburban type of areas that might not be too far off the beaten path of the natural, we'll say, uh, that's a blessing, right? Yeah, shout out to Rob, man. Shout out to brother Rob. Sick, no weapon ever. Period. Okay, but this doesn't mean we just live willy nilly and just God got it. I ain't got to worry about nothing. So we got to qualify that. No
Right.
weapon, but we still have to be diligent, right? Um, with that being said, I think it's important to address people who don't live in these environments. If you do, I mean, shoot, I don't want to say you have no excuse, because we all have different struggles in life, but let's just say it's a blessing, and there's a lot of change you can make in your immediate life, physically and environmentally, if you take advantage of some of those blessings as far as resources, right? Living in those places is amazing if you can. Now, a lot of people don't. So I think that's something to be addressed, right? We have to think about those who might live in, say, high-rise apartments in a, highly populated metropolitan area. I mean, it's tough, right? It's very, because I was there, man, for years. You got a job, you're working every day, long hours. You don't have much time before or after. You get home from work, you got a couple hours before you got to go to bed, and before you get up and do it all over again, right? So it's hard to really be on point with your diet, with grocery shopping, and even just the general knowledge it takes to eat properly and to actually even cook. But this is the kicker: discipline and I'd say discipline and actual drive can change that rather significantly. And that
Yes.
just has to do with actually taking the time, even though you might not have a whole lot, taking the time to figure out what you need to do and start to schedule these things. I had to learn how to schedule my cooking. I had to learn, and sometimes I fall back, I've slipped, because I got
Right.
like projects and reading, and it's like, damn, I'm not gonna have time to cook today. So, sometimes I'll go without eating, because it's very easy to go get some fast food. I can't even remember the last time I've eaten fast food, honestly. I can't even remember. So I rather fast.
Right.
If I can't have a healthy, clean meal, I'll fast. I know people who can't even consider the idea of going without eating. Like, if they're hungry, they're like, I'm gonna just eat anything because I'm hungry. I have to quiet that, that growling of my stomach. I
I
gotta eat
understand.
something.
Right. Right.
I don't
Right.
go there. I won't eat. I'll drink water, and
Hmm.
that's it. And then I'll wait. So these are different types of disciplines that took me years to actually learn. Okay. Scheduling your cooking, or in cooking in advance. Like, for instance, I'll cook, and this is hard. This is the hardest thing for me to do. I'm not always good at it, but I still incorporate this idea. But I'll cook like a large meal, for instance. Like I'll cook like a big roast. I'll get like a 4 pound roast brisket, and hot pot, or what is it? Not hot pot. What is it called? Pressure cook it, right?
Yeah, pressure cooker. Yeah.
Potatoes, onions, garlic, salt, pepper. That's all you need. Okay, a little
The
cayenne.
roast. Yeah.
Roast that thing up, and I'll have meat to eat for like 4 days. Okay. And then I'll have some rice. Well, right now I'm eating some carbs. So I'll have some rice. There's already potatoes in it. And then I'll and I don't eat a whole lot of veggies, but veggies are quick. You can make veggies fast. Veggies are nothing. And then eggs, I have some hard boiled eggs. I'll have like, I don't know, 12, 18 hard boiled eggs ready. And so throughout the week, I just kind of like section it off into little Pyrex and take it with me to the office, and I eat when I have my scheduled time. So there's that type, which is hard to do. Okay. But when you eat that kind of way, it's easier to stay on top of what's going in your body. It's easy to avoid bad eating. It's easy to avoid wasting money on expensive food that's just poisoning you. Because a lot of this fast food or like box stuff, processed stuff you get in stores is expensive because all the processing, the boxing, the advertising, the marketing, all of that stuff
Hmm.
costs money. So you're
Yes.
going to end up paying a whole lot more for this processed, easy, instantaneous food than you are going to pay for just the general, more natural whole foods. My thing is this: you got it. Is This is the thing for me. It's really easy if you think about it this way: whole foods and water. And for those that can handle it, some milk won't hurt. It
Right.
ain't much to it outside of that. Whole foods. That's the key. Like I know some people are vegetarian, some
And we're
people
not
are
talking about the
vegan.
store. We're talking about
Yeah.
Whole Foods.
Oh yeah, we definitely ain't talking about the store. Not to say you can't get good products from Whole Foods.
Right.
It's kind of
Right.
expensive. But yes, Whole Foods. Like there's a thing. You gotta cook your stuff. You gotta cook your own food. And I know that's real hard, man. And especially today for the younger generations, that's almost unheard of. We got Grubhub. What you talking about? Cook my own food. So I know that's hard for people to accept, but you gotta cook your own food. And there's something like powerful about that. There's something rewarding about that, but at the same time, it builds confidence, and it builds discipline too. Because once you start accomplishing things, you that accomplishing that progress, it builds the confidence, and from my experience, it uh it increases the discipline. So for me, it's really simple. And fasting is a really good one. Now I do understand fasting is different for women. Men could handle a lot more fasting than women can. It can be actually very dangerous for women to fast too much, hormonally speaking. But I just want to lay out just some basics, that I think have helped me, that I know have helped me out a lot, and I think might help people as well. For people that are trying to get in order in this area, um, cooking your own food and trying to source your own food from places that you know. And again, now let's go back to people who are living in an urbanized environment. People are living in, say, a high-rise apartment in the middle of like New York City or something like that. It's tough. It's very tough to eat right, to be on schedule, busy working, running around, traveling. It's hard. But for me, I would say get the basics, man. Find a few carbs you like, a few veggies you like, meats that you like, and only eat those things. Learn how to prepare them in a way that's not very time consuming, and figure out a system. It's all about systems. Everything I do in life has some system to it. That's the only way I could get anything done. Otherwise, everything's going to be chaos. Right. So I think systems are very important for people to implement into their lives. And all types aren't able to really just come to create systems. It's not easy. Everyone can't just create systems, but you
Right.
can learn from people how to create systems. That's part of the work, that I'm going to be doing on this channel, is helping people create these types of systems that have assisted me. And once you make systems for things, you don't have to work so hard. They work for you. The repetition, it becomes habit. It becomes routine, and the system is always there to rely on. It's like it does the thinking for you, because it's there's an order to it. There's a structure to it. So you rely on the structure, and it just making it happen, really. So for those living in those types of situations, it's really about focusing on whole foods, starting off with a handful of foods that you like, Keep it simple. Seasonal would be ideal. Seasonal eating,
Yeah.
I believe in, but just make it as simple as possible. A few carbs you like, the meats you like, the veggies you like. Stick to those things. Try to prep them in a way that saves you, or it doesn't. It's not too time consuming, and also how much you eat is important too. I think all of this contributes to the ill health today. It contributes to the growth of the pharmaceutical industry. It contributes to the growth of the big food industries, and it definitely contributes to the growth of this biotechnological development, because they're banking on the fact that people can't feed themselves, that people have no connection to their bodies and the foods that they put in them. They bank on the fact that people are totally far removed from actually understanding how to feed their bodies, but also how to interact day to day and live an active life. So they want us sedentary, they want us inactive, and they want us
Yep.
relying on food prep for us that doesn't come from nature. They want us to rely on factory based, genetically modified, synthetic pseudo food, right? It's very easy now. Maybe it's not very easy, but it's possible that we could avoid some of this, at least from our individual positions. Most people
Yes.
are not going to figure it out, man. Most people are not going to get it together. Most people are going to say, you know what? I love this lifestyle. I'm, whatever. They'll come out with a good medicine. They'll come out with some
Yeah.
technology to fix my body later, that kind of stuff. That's going to be most people. But some of us can say, nah, I'm not letting this happen, and I'm going to do something about it. And
Yeah.
that's one way. Figure out a very and I'm going to be going through this in detail on my channel, but just basic whole foods, carb, veg, protein source, water. Figure out a system of day-to-day eating. We eat too much. You don't need 3 heavy meals a day, depending on your size and your activity. If you're an athlete, if you're a power lifter or something, if you're, say, a large individual by way
Exactly.
of height and body mass, you're going to need more meals, clearly. But you got
Yep.
to figure out these things. What's a healthy amount of food to eat a day? Many people can go 1 meal a day,
Yeah.
and you'll be fine as long as that meal has all the right amount of nutrients, and it's about at least, I'd say, 1,500 to say 2,000 calories. I mean, that's all you need, and it's going to transform your gut microbiome. It's going to transform your hormonal function. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to clear your skin up. It's going to do so many things positive for you. It's going to help you out psychologically, and that your moods will be more stable. Because even though people might not, everyone doesn't have like mood issues or psychological issues, but the foods we're eating creates them. A lot of
Yes.
these foods we eat are attacks on your hormonal function.
Yes.
A lot of these processed dyes and all of this stuff, it directly attacks the way your entire system functions, even at its most basic elements like mitochondria. So, what if you're lightweight? Okay, what if you're lightweight? What? I'd love to answer that, but
Yeah. If you
if
can give
you,
us a little bit more
yeah, give us a little
detail.
more. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Man,
It's
you
it's very. I just want to say it's very simple, and that's what they don't want people to figure out. They want people to think the world's a big, bad, scary place, and it's complex, and it's too hard to survive, so they can supply everything for us.
Yep.
It's much simpler when we go back and we look at how some of our grandparents and great grandparents lived. I mean, it's so basic. But then life has become so complicated, so inundated by
Mhm.
oversaturation, overstimulation, too much of everything. We're overwhelmed and exhausted.
Yeah. I
So we
mean,
give up.
yeah, man, you had so many things. Just get rid of processing foods that come in a box. You know, have get your meats. Make sure your meats are coming from healthy sources, grass finished, grass fed. Know what that means.
That's
Find a
hard to get though. That is, I
Yeah,
know, and it's expensive. So I want to put that out there. I know everyone won't really be able to do the grass fed, grass finished, but it is the best route to go, I'd say.
and support those who are actually who have local farms that provide that. Support them,
There it is.
because we're that local economy that supports the people doing things the right way. So if you found someone, of course, support, put your money there, and encourage the people to keep going. And and if you have land to do your own thing, and you have the time and the effort and energy to do that, then of course do that as well, because the, you know we're being attacked from environmentally from so many different aspects. The nutritional deficiencies are just exacerbating the entire environmental toxicity. It's making it worse because the nutritional deficiencies dismantle our body's natural healing and detoxifying mechanisms to remove these things. So they play on each other. You know, the environmental toxicity, the nutritional deficiencies, and remember, this is spiritual warfare first. And that's why a lot of people can't get to the point that we're at, because you have to get over the spiritual warfare of what are you living for? And this is coming from a worldview issue. Are you living for the world? Are you living for the creator who created the world? And then you understand your life, you understand how we fit into his creation and what is our purpose, meaning, origin, and destiny, and all these things. You have, once you understand these, and for us it's the Bible, it's the biblical worldview. And that gives us understanding why the world is doing what it's doing, why we shouldn't trust it, why we should support things like a biblical family structure, local communities, and things like that. So it all stems out of our faith. What's going on, Shawani Dufour, Barry Duncan? We got people all over. I
Savannah's in
know.
the house. Bari's in the house. Peace to you
Yeah,
guys.
man.
Joe Potter's with us. Cookie in the house. Yeah, man.
Everybody, man. Appreciate you all coming through, man. This is, and see, which, as you can tell, we're very passionate about this because this is what we live.
Yeah,
And
we
we've
live it.
overcome huge obstacles and
Mm,
like some of the things we were born with that
yeah.
we were told you cannot overcome. And
Mhm.
yet, through consistency, through awareness, through just having a diligent but patient uh, ethic to care for our bodies, we've overcome these things, and we're continuing to improve. It's like not just overcome something, but we're improving, and we're not young. We're in our 40s,
Mhm.
and the best is yet to come. And don't
Yeah.
let people tell you that, oh, you're past a certain age, you're past your prime. Trust me, that's another thing that goes with this modern institutionalized thinking. You know, just first of all, get down to the basics before you run to a whole bunch of supplements and all that. Heal your body with basic, like Dave said, eat whole foods, make sure you're drinking clean water, eat fruits, vegetables, of course, all within how you're what and don't be afraid to test to see how your body responds to maybe a larger portion of protein or protein and fat. I typically like my protein and fat together, and I do eat fruits. I try to eat them in the morning because fruits are energizing and they're detoxifying. So it kind of wakes you up. Instead of running to caffeine, eat fruit in the morning or skip breakfast, have extend your intermittent fasting and have your first meal at lunch and move, get out of nature. When your body is in motion, you're moving around, you're not thinking emotionally because it's a lot of people are emotionally eating because they're sitting too long and their mind starts to
Mhm.
dawdle and drift into things. So they kind of eat to satiate that emotional thing or the worries of this is where our faith helps us come out of sin and all these things that sins make you hungry. When you engage in a lifestyles can make you hungry, and
Mhm.
they bring worries and dramas that people try to escape with food from. And so a lot of addictions have a spiritual origin in
Yes.
there. And so once you remove these addictions and you have this biblical worldview understanding of what's happening in your body and the world, you can create a system and where it works. And it's not, don't let the word system intimidate you. It's
Mm.
kind of simplifying life. It's making it more simple.
Yeah,
It's
it makes it
getting
easier.
yeah, it's getting rid of a lot of stuff that you don't need because you don't need a lot of the stuff. Walking around, you can make your workout very practical. For those who, if you have children, go out and play with your children. Take the stairs, go for a walk to the store if it's feasible. Move. If you see a beautiful day, go out and enjoy it.
Mhm.
And if you have a job where you have to sit down for 8 hours plus, get up and walk around. Keep your blood moving. Earn your meal. What I like to do is earn my meals. I try not to eat unless I've done some kind of activity or movement to eat. So it encourages me to get up and move, extend my fasting, or work out so that I'm eating because I've created a need for my body to need these nutrients rather than having a sedentary, lazy position. I'm just flooding my body with a whole bunch of calories and stuff that I didn't really create the need. Because otherwise, if you're sitting down and you can't move around, eat small portions. Eat a small portion until you can get around and move and kind of build this appetite. And so when you eat these dense calories, your body is going to use them
Yeah.
instead of like some people eat huge lunches at work and they're sitting down. They're not even moving. You're eating all of this food to basically do nothing. And that's going to flood. That's going to elevate your blood sugar, oxidize your blood vessels, destroy your organs, cause all kinds of issues. Most people don't realize that a lot of this degenerative stuff is people who are eating, overeating, and raising their blood sugars, eating processed foods, fraying the nerves. The nerves have a myelin sheath, a layer of fat over there. And if you're eating a whole bunch of refined sugar and refined carbs, you're destroying the cholesterol that controls your cell walls and you have your brain working. So you're destroying the nerves. So don't eat a whole bunch of fake processed food and don't sit down and not do anything. Get out and move, eat good foods, know when not to eat because when you're sick, it's best to focus on cleansing. Allow your body to rest and cleanse. Don't just eat when you're sick. Now there are times, like Dave said, when you're doing a lot of activity and you have exerted yourself, yes, replenish yourself because that could be just as dangerous overexerting yourself through some kind of heavy training and you're not eating enough. So you have to make sure you eat enough protein, enough fat, enough carbs, and all these in the proper proportions. You don't have to overly flood your body with protein, but know your body mass, know your BMI, know how to eat according to your body size. Start watching some of these people on these fitness celebrities who telling you do whatever because they have a vested interest in making money. You got
Yeah.
to be very practical about your own body, your own I should say genetics or your own proportions and such. Even with exercise, like as you get older, even if I knew what I knew now as a younger man, I would have rested and recovered more than I tore my body up because a
Yeah.
lot of that tearing in my body wasn't fruitful because I didn't properly recover and I didn't properly eat with the level of activity I was putting on my body. And so now I can redeem a lot of that by putting nutrition, rest, recovery, sleep, all these things in the proper context where I can see maximum, maximum results from doing the most basic little things. It's not, I don't have to wait to see. I can start to see my waist slimming out within a day or two if I just focus and eat right, sleep right, know when not to eat, exercise right. I'm starting to see results immediately, but you have to get your body, you have to redeem and undo a lot of trauma that we've caused our bodies through detoxing, discipline, and you have to have this awareness that drives you to do it because if you don't have the passion to take care of yourself, it's going to be a burden that you're going to give up on. So
Mm.
you have to really desire to really care for yourself. You have to see the value in care. It makes life better. You can't imagine doing anything and then imagine doing it sick. It's going to be very depressing when you're sick
Yeah.
trying to enjoy and do the basic things in life. You can't even work properly if you're sick. And sick is a subjective term. We're talking about symptoms that come from uh, nutritional deficiencies, not detoxing the body, um, a whole bunch of myriad of things that we can address. We're not talking about germ theory and having someone interpret what's happening in your body through something that makes you not unaccountable and go straight to big pharma. We're not talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't wouldn't you say a lot of this is just the result of, generally speaking, the population living by habit, right? We're,
Yes.
we're we're living by habit. We're eating by habit, right? We're
Hmm.
we're we're, we're doing what we do day to day by habit. And what we need to realize is we need to start living in a way that's deliberate. And instead of like creating these routines that form habits and we just live out life in autopilot, especially diet wise. Most people are like autopilot with it. They just, it's this habitual series of events where we just day to day
Yep.
eat how we've always eaten because it's a habit is formed. We need to realize that it's not this type of habit based, almost involuntary act. It's actually a relationship. Just like we have a relationship with Christ and the Most High God, we have a relationship with our food as well, because our food, we are whatever we are, as far as like in the real world, what you exist as is related to what you eat, how you feel, how you function, how you think is related to how you eat. So we do have a relationship with food. We have a relationship with environment, just like we would have a relationship with friends and family, and even the Most High. So I think, yes, be patient with yourself, says Cookie Cruncher. That's a fact right there. We can't be too hard on ourselves. That's very important, because right when you're too hard on yourself and you start like putting too much ahead of you, you'll backtrack. Yeah, if you put too much on yourself, you'll just give up and you'll go backwards. But yeah, I think we need to reclaim our relationship with life. And I think diet and lifestyle have a lot to do with that. We need to realize, you know what? I'm not doing my part of the relationship, right? Like I'm just letting systems of governments and economies and markets dictate what I put in my body. So I think we need to reshape and refine our relationship with food, and also our relationship with living. We have to live deliberately, as you said. You got to do something active, right? And I accomplish these things through systems and forming healthy habits. It's not to say all habits are bad, I guess, but these types of habits we're living now are bad habits. So let's form good, healthy habits. For me, that's what's helped me out a lot. Realizing, I have a relationship with food. Like I'm with it every day, every single day, several times a day. I'm sitting down and spending time with it. Not only am I spending time with it, it's being put inside of my body and having a direct effect on how I feel and live. So just knowing that alone, we really have to get those things in order. And that's something that really moved me quite a bit. And once you
Yes.
refine that relationship with food, everything happens after that. You just transform in many different ways. And for me, I see it as a way of fighting back, at least in a spatio-temporal sense. How can we physically and like objectively fight back against this system? It's by taking back our lives and
Yes.
be deliberate about living. And diet and activity are two of the pillars of life, living in
And
the real world.
that's why I titled this "The Fight to Reclaim Your Health," because it has to be reclaimed because we've been indoctrinated. Tradition has taken over our mind. Many of us have been conditioned, and even though we're out of it, a lot of people are still conditioned, and they're cyclical in symptoms and lifestyles that they think is just normal to be in, and just they have normalized sickness. They have
Mhm.
normalized feeling unwell. They have normalized having no energy. Like this whole energy drink culture. What is
Mhm.
that? We should think about it. What does that mean if we have an energy drink culture? I mean, and these are not old people taking energy drinks. These are like
I know.
teenagers and young people who should be full of energy.
Did
Just
we
walking
ever
around.
need some
No,
energy
man, we
boost,
needed we
bro?
needed the opposite. We
The
needed to sit
opposite.
down somewhere, and it's like I never seen teenagers and young adults so drained and so
Mm.
lethargic. And of course, the food. Sirwana says something very interesting that the health starts in the gut. Your gut. A lot of
Even the
people have,
brain, you
yeah,
know?
the vagus nerve. A lot of people have poor gut health because the processing and the chemical sabotage your body's ability to break down food, to assimilate food, and to detox. Like colon cleansing, man. If you're eating several times a day, you have to be aware that what you're eating has to find its way out of your body. You don't want this food putrefying and fermenting in your gut, creating all kinds of harmful environments and microbiomes that will cause fungus and mold and to grow within your body. And they got all kinds of names: SIBO, leaky gut,
Yes.
and then a lot of people have heartburn, acid
Mhm,
reflux, and they can't
mhm.
seem to get rid of it. But these are signs that
Gout.
your body is
Mhm.
overloaded with toxins, you're eating the wrong foods, and you need to be consistent and you need to be diligent and basically just keep doing the right thing. Don't do it for a while. You need to make this a lifestyle. See, the
Lifestyle.
problem is people
Mhm,
want to get healthy for a time and then go back to doing the wrong thing. But
mhm.
every time you go back to doing the wrong thing, you're making the impact of the wrong thing more powerful. and it's going to take more to undo what you're doing, especially as you get older. Like as you get older, when you're young, your body blinds you from what you're really doing to it, and it'll manifest later, but you're blind to it because you just have, well, we had just so much energy. But now as you get older, man, immediately, if I eat the wrong foods, I have an immediate reaction in my body. And the healthier you are, the more immediate the reaction. And that's a good thing, because our bodies, when they're properly trained and conditioned, don't allow us to do the wrong thing too long, because our body will just have a bad reaction. And so, because once you develop that structure and that discipline, your body is very strict. And so,
Mhm.
when you, like, I can't eat. I used to love Krispy Kreme donuts growing up. I need to eat
Me
half a
too.
donut now before I start feeling like, oh man, I just feel bad, because
Yeah.
I'm not used to that much sugar anymore. And so
Yeah.
when I eat that much processed sugar, it's almost like a drug.
Mm.
I'm having a mental, like, I'm feeling off. And so it's like I can't even do it. And that helps you overcome desires that were hardwired into you, just the diligence and persistence. Eventually you won't be able to do it. I tell people, before you even get to a fast, just cut out sugar for a day. And it might seem hard the first day you do it, and just cut out sugar
It's a good
and
one.
drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Good
just,
start.
and you'll notice that after the day one of no sugar, the next time you eat sugar, it's going to be too powerful and potent. You're going to eat less of it, and then you can go another day, and then before you know it, sugar, the fake sugar. I'm not talking about fruits, because fruits are created in a way where our body has all kinds of nutrients, enzymes, fibers, everything that helps our body assimilate that natural sugar. I'm talking about refined sugars.
Yes.
You will
I'd say
really
get
taste,
your sugar from fruit if anywhere.
yes,
But
you
yeah.
will taste how toxic refined sugar is if you go an
Mhm.
extended period without it, and then try it. Like, I can't even eat the candies I grew up with. I grew up eating Kit Kat and all that stuff.
All that,
I
yeah.
eat, man, I tried it one time to be nostalgic and eat one. Man, I almost threw up. It just
Don't taste right, yeah.
yeah, it don't take, I don't even, it's probably not even the same formula anymore. I
Yeah.
mean, but even
Especially if
if
you
it's,
have, like, real chocolate, like, real
yeah,
good
yeah.
quality
Oh my
chocolate,
goodness. And
and
that's the
then you try a
thing,
Kit Kat, it's like, "What? What is this stuff?"
man.
Yeah.
And trust me, that's another thing. Once you try good quality meat, good quality chocolate, good quality, you won't go back to the fake stuff. And see, when you can invest in quality, because when you eat quality foods, you don't need all those filler meals, because those filler meals, those snackings, are just signs that you're nutritionally starving. Like, people are eating, they're eating, overeating, and they're still nutritionally starving. And that's why they have this urge to snack, even with a full stomach. Oh, I need to snack, because you ate a whole bunch of empty calories, a whole
Yes.
bunch of empty foods. Once you eat the right kind of foods, you can go extended periods of time and feel energetic, not have the
Yeah.
urge to snack.
Yes.
And then it kind of encourages you to say, you know what? Let me just eat grapes. Let me just eat some fruit. Let me just eat this meat, this avocado. And
Nutrient dense foods.
exactly. And then you realize, like, okay, you spent more money, but you don't have to buy snacks no more.
You
Your
save so
snacks,
much money, actually. You
when you
save
buy
money.
when you buy Whole Foods, like if you just want to eat fruit, man, that's a lot cheaper than eating anything processed.
It really is. It costs less food, but it costs more it costs less food, but it costs more time.
Yes. Yes.
That's the
Eh,
trade-off, okay?
yeah.
You're gonna save money, but
Hmm.
you're gonna need to apply a little more time because 'cause you're gonna have to cook, you're gonna have to organize things, you have to more thought, more
Hmm.
preparation. But see, that's why these systems help you, in a sense, organize and, create routines, for the thought and the preparation, right? So
Yeah.
that's the difference. You'll save some money going whole food, but it's more time, right?
Yeah. And
But it's worth it, I'd say. You just have
it's
to do the work.
Yeah, it's very well worth it. Like, for example, cleaning meat. When I buy meat, preparing it and cleaning it seems like it's a lot, but once you get used to it, second nature. You don't even think about it. You can do it quickly. It's just
Mhm.
getting over that initial mental that mental block of, oh, it's a lot of work. Once you start doing it and you make it like a system or a habit, the next time you do it like almost easy. You make it into a system where you just know what to do, you do it, and then you clean up behind yourself and you're done. And then your body gets used to doing it until it's no longer a burden to do it, and you start to gain the benefits of doing it. And now you see, man, doing the extra work is well worth it. you know I tell people, cooking, growing your own food has benefits. most people wouldn't go to a stranger's house and eat food, but we do that going out to eat. We eat
all
food
the
from
time.
strangers. We don't know these people. We don't know their mind, their heart, their spirit. We don't know nothing, but we eat food from there. So, and that's just because we've been conditioned from a societal standpoint to be okay with that. Just go to these business. And look, I'm not against small business, but
Yeah, yeah.
the idea of getting to know people is being removed. We don't get to know people. Remember, in
There could be
communities,
both, right? There could be
yeah,
both.
you can do both. People used to know people.
Yeah,
People used to have conversations with people who prepared food, and these things were constructs of the family and communities when these things were established. Now, in this individual corporatocracy where everybody's just working for money and all that stuff, and there's no community and family involved. People don't think about that. So when they get sick, they're like, well, you can't even trace back what could be the cause because you ate at so many places. You didn't make your own food. And it's just crazy. Honestly, the last 3 years helped me get out of this need to even need to eat out. Like when it forced me to do what I was already doing, but just expedite the processes. Get like the last 3 years was hard, but it was refining for those already moving in that direction. It actually accelerated where we already wanted to go.
that's a good point. And but it did the same thing in the opposite direction. It
Yeah.
boosted the food delivery services.
Unfortunately,
It
yeah.
it, it boosted a lot of these
Gig economy.
convenience
Hmm.
technologies. So that's the rub, right? As
Yeah.
much as it forced some of us, hey, you know what? Now I gotta cook, I gotta prep, I gotta do this and that. A lot of people are like, oh well, we're just gonna order our
Yep.
food, knock
Technology.
at the door. Yeah, man. So that's the tough part. But again, I think this speaks to one of the points we're always trying to press here is that there's always going to be this split between people of technology and the people of nature. People that are going to want to live in the real, that are going to
Yep.
want to eat real, that are going to want to interact real. And then there's going to be the other people that just accept the virtual, accept the pseudo, accept the digitized. And I think what we saw as a response to the COVID was a perfect example of that. I think we get into the health as well. Think about this, or at least the physical component. So during
Hmm.
during COVID, just like you had this split between people who maybe for the first time, or maybe a boost to what they were already doing, they're cooking more, they're eating better, because they can't just go to the fast food because things are closed down, or quarantine or whatever. But then you also got the people taking advantage of the delivery services, eating even worse than they've ever eaten. Look at the physical aspect of it too. You have a lot of people that got in the best shape they've ever been in during COVID
Yes.
because
Telling
they
you,
had the
man.
time, and they put in work, and they got it together, and they got their health back, and they transformed their whole life. But then on the other end, you got people that got gained more weight and got more unhealthy than they've ever been
And more
because
technologically dependent. Yeah.
yeah, because they just, I'm gonna just sit here and play video games. I'm just gonna sit here and scroll, and I'm gonna just, eat whatever I want to eat because there's nothing to do, and I'm on quarantine and I'm bored. It's just interesting how
Yeah.
you have those differences there, and they're just only going to be exacerbated as we move closer to this, like, super modern digital technocracy thing.
Man, well said, man. So I'm going to touch on this idea that I've learned about allergies. I grew up with one of those people who had what I thought was allergies growing up. Like it was, I had the nosebleeds, I had the sniffling, I had the sore
Mm,
throat, and this stuff was like, especially every spring. And I was like, okay, my brain just started to process, why am I allergic to plants? Because and here's the thing, and I tell people, yes, you may have a reaction from pollen, but the reason you're having a reaction from pollen is not from pollen, it's from everything else that's burdening your body. So like, for example, if we know there are heavy metals in the air, strontium, barium, aluminum, manganese, all these other things, why isn't it that we don't assume that these things have um, put our body in such an inflammatory state that natural things have such a autoimmune effect? Like my body is so sick that breathing pollen, which I don't respond in a healthy body, almost cripples me. We don't think like that. Like, look at everything else happening around you before you just go for trees. Does it make sense that our creator made us allergic to the very environment that we used to thrive in? That never set with me. And so I knew it was something else that they're trying to deflect me from. And then once I started to detox, eat better, guess what disappeared? The allergies. They went away. And I'm telling you, I had it bad. I
mhm.
had it bad. Unfortunately, we grew up in a time where, when we were born, they made sure we got our injections,
Mhm. Well,
and
they
when we
did.
went to elementary school, we had to make sure we had these things. And
Mhm.
so, yes, that compromised our defenses, our immune system, if you want to call it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And and so we had all these issues going on that we were just told, oh, it's just normal. You're supposed to get like this every time. And I'm like, here I am now, much later in life. I don't have any issues. When spring comes, I don't have any issues with the pollen. I have an issue with everything else, but I don't have any issues. Like I could literally walk out if they're not doing too much in the sky, and I don't have no issues. When I used this, I mean, it used to be my throat would swell up. It was bad growing up, and people don't understand. Like a lot of things that we're being told is a deflection from what we can actually that to the things that are self-evident and the things we can actually observe in reality. Like the fact that who's drinking tap water? Nobody should be drinking tap water these days. That is like that is terrible. No tap water. So once you understand that, and shower filters, once you understand about removing this toxic water, and this is not something unknown. I mean, we knew lead in the water a long time ago, and now we knew about fluoride. We knew about the high levels of chlorine and all these things, and pharmaceuticals and mold. And look at the pipes, lead pipes. Most of these old rusted pipes are bringing water through the cities. What do you think is being picked up in those pipes? And so once you get a good filter, because they don't want you getting well water, they don't want you to think there's a vast amount of water under the earth, because they're going to give you this whole illusion of what they want you to think the earth is. They don't want you to understand that for thousands of years before, people all lived under used wells. They didn't need
Mhm.
modern piping and all this stuff, and it was
Mhm.
more than enough water for everybody. But now they want to think like the WEF is now talking about, they did this in 2021, talking about a water scarcity event or some kind of water event. Like I sent it to you, I think,
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah. I actually was gonna maybe talk about that this weekend, but yeah, it's crazy. It's like the last and final thing that connects us all, water. Yeah,
yeah, I
water.
mean,
Mm.
and of course they want to attack the fundamentals, the air you breathe, the water that we bathe in, that we drink, all of that, and take us away from looking at these natural sources of things like water. It was long understood by many civilizations that there's more water under the earth than in the oceans. But
Mm.
from what we're told, no, all the water is vastly salt water, or it's frozen, locked up in glaciers. But there's like I mean, we're just not told the truth about reality. And that's on purpose, because they want to control our reality by putting us in their simulation. And this goes to what we talked about, man. And I
Yeah,
know you're going to break this down about they actually want us to live in a simulation of their creation by
yes.
taking us out of reality, taking us out of God's creation, and putting us in this construct of their own making, built on deceptions and lies and false information and all this stuff, where we divorce ourselves from the environment. We divorce ourselves from practical critical thinking of working within a sustainable, self-sustainable environment, and we just make ourselves completely dependent on governments, institutions, and corporations to survive,
Yes.
which is foolish. So that and man, I know we're not going to do too much, man. We just wanted to really come through, but we can roll if talk about a few more things, because
Yeah, I
this
got
is interesting.
I tactically I really don't got much time left, but I could do another few minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. I just to add to what you said, it's just unfortunate, man, because this is a long drawn out process that's been happening for generations. And I think
Hmm.
the undergirding point is they're trying to create a massive organism, right? A massive Borg like it's almost as if they look at Earth as a type of complex organism in relation to a body. So they want to create this system where we're all part of this circular machine that's well oiled and efficient and self produces, functions in a way that doesn't create waste and kind of, in a sense, accounts for everything. And the problem with this is it takes away. all personal responsibility, accountability on the part of the individual. But at the same time, it eliminates the potential for localism and for freedom, I would argue. Right. So it's like, damn, we're slowly being put into this massive machine where they're selling this idea of utopia because we'll never run out of food. We have
Mhm.
machines now, we have technologies now to create food, to literally create it, to grow things in labs. I mean, it's like it's a madness. So that's the frustrating part is this is the direction things have always been going. I mean, at least since the Industrial Revolution. So there's no getting away from this. It's like we're put in a position where the only thing we can do spatio-temporally in this physical material world, the only thing we really can do is try to get back to some sense of self-sustainability, taking our lives back in the physical. We have a lot more control and power spiritually, right? We can definitely
Totally agree.
maintain and I'd say manage our spiritual lives. The physical life, the other aspect of living, is a little more out of our hands, it seems like, because it's the learned helplessness and just the way things are set up now. It's just so difficult, and in many cases we're our worst enemies because we make it even harder on ourselves by our behaviors and our patterns and our habits. But I think if we can really get back to this idea of self sustainability and focusing as much as possible on more local ways of living, supporting local farms, supporting ranchers, trying to not necessarily just eat organically, which is kind of a scam at this point now, too. Unfortunately, we don't know what's organic and what's not. But I think as long as we could try our best to reach back to some of these older ways of living, and then we could think about people who might be in like highly technological cities and super metropolitan modern cities, uh, trying to be as simple as possible with your lifestyle as far as eating is concerned. Simplify everything, break it down to the basics, right? Carbs, fiber, etc., proteins, veggies, fruits, liquids, right? A lot of people like juicing too. That's cool. I'm not so much into the juicing, but I do understand there are health benefits there. I rather just eat my fruit and eat my veggies opposed to juicing
Yeah,
it.
same here.
You get the fiber as well when you eat them. But I do understand it could be a good addition, right? A little celery juice or something, whatever. But yeah, I think this is really one thing we can do, getting back to some of these simpler ways of simplifying things, and trying to get better discipline. And it takes practice. It takes practice and it takes time, but also being physical too. Everyone's different. Some of you guys got physical jobs, so you don't have to even worry about that. But some of us work at a desk all day, and then we have sedentary occupations. So in that case, we have to take it upon ourselves to be more active, and that's difficult.
Definitely.
That's difficult, especially when one is busy and they got families, children. It's hard, man. Trust me, I know. But I believe we owe it to ourselves and we owe it to the Most High God to take these things into our hands, especially given the moment we're in, right? The way things are going, and knowing very well that they want us to be at our lowest. They want us to be ill. They want us to rely on their
Mhm.
technologies and their services and even their genetically modified foods. Speaking to that, another thing we have to realize is we're not going to fix everything. And it isn't important to like create some neurotic mission to clean and cleanse yourself of every possible impurity that exists. I think that's what you see in a lot of the health movements online, and it's a little bit unhealthy. I think we just need to simplify things and pray over things. Um,
Totally agree.
and all this whole mRNA and meat thing, I've been researching it, and I don't know how much of it is really true. I don't even really, I've yet to really find any information that really gives me enough answers as far as what happens to mRNA in meats that are cooked, for instance, and
Right, right.
it just seems really weird and murky, a lot of this stuff. So I don't know how to really engage with it just yet. But I do know for one thing, there's only so much we can do, and it does come to the point where we just have to pray over our food, right, and know that
Yeah.
no weapon formed against us will prosper. And so
Amen.
I want to stay away from this very secular view of like we have to cleanse everything, and you have to know what you have to be able to name and define everything that goes in your body, and you only can buy grass finished organic meat from these particular, that is just impossible. It's just
Yeah.
impossible. And when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. So it's not like we're trying to like, you know, stop what the most high has laid out. But I think we can be smarter, and we could be more deliberate in the way we do
Yes.
these things.
There you go. Moderation,
Moderation.
moderation, and just having an awareness, because once you come out and you see the world, you see sin and how sin has allowed us to feed this illusion that we've been given. Everything is pretty much self-evident, and you know how to avoid the things you can avoid, and you know how to pray against and do the best you can about the things you can't, and you don't worry, because ultimately you know that we're guided by the Most High. We're guided, through Christ who lives in us, and we don't, like, the worrying will kill you faster than the food.
Boom.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I'm people don't
Yeah, man. Stress is number one
stress
killer, bro.
stress and
Number one.
worrying causes your body to literally break down. And like I said, we're not promoting irresponsibility, but
Mm-mm.
to the people who are being responsible, we don't have to worry in a very, hyper critical way. We could just do, like, we already usually have our systems, and we do what we can. Sometimes I'm on the fly, I may go out and grab something. I'm not worried that I'm going to
I'll give
die.
me a Five Guys cheeseburger here and there, okay? I will, and I do.
Yeah, yeah.
Trust me. With
Yes.
fries, okay?
Yeah. I mean, this, and like I said, you'll know, because your body will tell you. When your body is fine tuned, your body will tell you, okay, I can't eat this no more, because you'll have an immediate, like, it's really sick people who really don't respond to really bad food, and so they kind of don't have anything in their body telling them, okay, stop doing this. It's like how, you know, I mean, they have a sickened state, but if you look at an alcoholic who's been drinking alcohol for years, he just normalized that condition. Like somebody who doesn't really need it. And like I said, I might have a glass of wine, and like I said, good quality stuff, man. Like I said, I'm improving the quality of what I put it and what I do, not necessarily by eliminating everything, because I make my own cookies. I like chocolate chip cookies, and I learned how to make my cookies, or find a brand that has all ingredients, where I may have to add the egg and all that stuff, and they taste really good, and my body responds. So
Mm,
sometimes you listen to your body. Your body tells you. We have
very
really,
important.
like I said, we were created fearfully and wonderfully made. Our bodies will tell us a lot. Just listen to how your body responds to what you do, how you feel from what you do, and you'll know if it's something you can continue to do or something you need to remove. It's pretty much self, explanatory. So I take it that's the easiest way where you don't have to worry, because
Especially if you have health issues, right?
yes, yes,
Skin issues, headaches, any types of pains, any type of like what is it, gastric issue,
gastrointestinal
or
stuff. Yeah,
gastro issues.
yeah.
Um, Definitely. For me, I would suggest, and again, we ain't no doctors, and you ain't learning much from
Nah, this
doctors
ain't
today
medical
anyway.
advice.
But I'm just saying, elimination diets, man, especially for
Yeah,
those types
yeah.
of ailments, really, really change things, or even mood issues, and just general energy issues. Some people are just like, I'm tired all the time, and that's a
Mhm.
mitochondria. That's a mitochondria issue,
Yes.
and a lot of that has to do with what we're eating and not getting enough sleep. So it's a mixture of trying to eliminate things out of your diet for a while, eating less, eating whole foods, cleaner foods, more water,
Mhm.
more sleep. Do that, you're going to change those issues that you have, or at least you'll see some change. You'll experience some change, I'm sure. That's the first thing I did, was eliminate as much as I eat,
Yes.
increase the quality of things I eat by making sure they're whole. At least they're whole. They might not be organic in some situations, but they're whole. Okay. So
Mhm.
whole foods, lower volume of how much I eat. And this depends on our body types and our sizes. Everyone's different for satiation, etc.
Right.
But then more drinking enough water, not too much and not enough water, and getting at least 7 hours of sleep a night. I tend to get
Yes.
about 8.5 when I'm doing real well. And you will see things transform. Some people are good. They're like, I don't have any real pains. I feel pretty healthy. I don't eat that great, but I'm not struggling anywhere. That's
Right.
okay. The blessing. That's a blessing to not really have anything going on that's you're dealing with. Um, So there's always those exceptions, but I think for most people, there's something we need to fix today.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if you're not one of those people, hey, you're a rare one. Okay, you're a rare one because most people today we got to change something. Whether it's getting a little more sleep, improve
Yep.
my sleep quality, maybe drink a little more water, maybe eat a little cleaner, or maybe eat a little less, or maybe all of them combined.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's crazy because I tell people your body tells you when you're nutritionally deficient. You can look at your hair, your nails, your
Oh yeah.
skin, your eyes, your
Mm-hmm.
teeth. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we have all these markers that tell us. And I put a chart that shows you like when your nails look a certain way, it tells you that you're low on a certain thing. Like in your eyes tell you a lot. You know, if you have liver, kidney issues, you can look at the eyes. Skin is also a kidney toxin issue. If your skin flaring up, you need to detox, possibly drink more water. Not too much because you got to understand how
You
we
can
drink.
overhydrate. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want it. Something called hyponatremia or something where you
Mm-hmm.
flush all the electrolytes. That's very
Yeah.
dangerous, messing with
Yes.
your brain and your heart. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely, we're not advocating people go out here and just start chugging gallons. You know, like really just do practical things. When you're thirsty, you know when you're thirsty, listen to your body. And if you're eating fruit, you don't have to drink as much water because there's fruit in that water. I mean, there's water in that fruit. And so, in doing stuff like certain vegetables are high water content. And like I said, when you eating, like, and I eat a lot of meat, I use the vegetables as almost like a cleansing to help me my body move the meat through my system. You know, because meat. Another thing, when you eat meat, you got to make sure your stomach acid is strong enough to break it down. A lot of people have really weak stomach acid,
Mm-hmm.
and they think heartburn is really because they have too much acid, but they have a low acid. And what happens is that valve in your esophagus and your stomach doesn't close until your stomach acid gets acidic enough when you eat. Because if you eat and your stomach acid is low, your body thinks that you're not eating because your body responds with creating more acid when you eat. But
Mm-hmm.
if you eat and your stomach acid is low, the valve will stay open and you'll lay down and then you start having acid reflux where it'll come down. So apple cider vinegar is good. Cayenne pepper is good to acidify. Um, some people take betaine hydrochloride. You know, it's do your research. Always do your research. We're just people who love knowledge, love to read. So
I'd also
this,
to add to that, chew your food up.
yeah, chew your food.
Chew your food well.
Mastication. Yeah,
You'd be
exactly.
surprised. Eating too fast, especially when you're eating dense food, eating too fast and chewing and not chewing it up, that'll give you all
Yeah.
kind of issues too. I never even realized because I've always been like rushing when I'm eating, like especially as
Yes.
a youngin. And like growing up, especially over the past couple decades, it's like, man, sitting down and really chewing your food well really contributes to better digestion for sure. And it's
Yes.
simple stuff like that.
And trust me, my grandmother used to tell me, "Boy, you're eating too fast." And you
Yeah.
know, we always think we're in a rush.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and you know, especially when you're eating a steak, man, take your time and chew
Yeah,
that.
definitely
You
with
get
the meats.
Yeah,
Definitely
you
with the
get
meat.
good quality steak. It's not going to be rough, but you can chew it and really enjoy it, and then enjoy your food, man. You know, food's a blessing from God that we can enjoy. So
Yes.
enjoy your food. You know, be present in the moment when you're eating.
One
Don't
of the most
we
sorry.
No, you good. You good.
I was gonna say one of the most important things. Sorry, this thing jumping in my head. I want to
I
say it before I
understand,
forget.
bro.
Difference between sodium and salt, right? Or let's just
Mhm.
say people have this misconception where you need salt, you need sodium, but we tend to have too much of the wrong one. We tend to have too
Mhm.
much of this like processed sodium that we like. You open anything in a box, any like all these processed foods, look at how the sodium content, it's
Yes.
through the roof. So what happens is a lot of people tend to eat foods throughout the day that are really high in sodium. And so then
Mhm.
when they like cook a meal, they're like, oh, no salt, I don't want to have too much salt. Well, you're not really getting good salt. You're not getting that real sea salt
Yeah.
like salt. You're getting your sodium from
Lab grown, lab
this,
salt, salt
this,
they make
l-
in the lab.
this
Sodium and chloride alone are not found in nature. You usually have them with maybe 60 to 80 other minerals to create this collect this like sea salt is full of other minerals and they're all natural source and same with Himalayan pink salt. This chemical lab salt. I even heard somebody say that Bill Gates is creating some kind of fake salt too.
no, great.
But yeah, man, just like processed stuff has that fake stuff in it. If you avoid the processing, get yourself a good source of Celtic sea salt, Himalayan pink salt.
I like
You
Redmond. That's my
Yeah,
that's my go-to.
get
That's
that
the
red
only
mill.
salt I eat.
I mean, I
I
get
have,
red
I have,
mill
some, I have
baking
some
soda.
Himalayan. I have some Himalayan too. and just some general sea salt. But the Redmond, man, I can't pass up the Redmond. It's just the best.
Yeah, Redmond salt. Yeah, just get the good quality stuff. You can sprinkle it, and you'll notice that you don't even need a lot of it, but you don't have to worry about it because your body needs salt. It needs
It
the right kind of
needs.
salt. And even the Rockefeller industry understands this. What's the first thing they give you when you go into the hospital? They give you saline.
Yeah.
So even though, like I said, we talking about real salt, but even they have to acknowledge that the blood needs a saline content. They would, if salt was so scary, they wouldn't put everybody for the most minimal things on saline solution. So I mean, it's just how you are. I mean, our body has about the same proportion of salt as the ocean. So you have to consider that. It's just that it has to be natural salt, just
Yeah,
like sugar.
we're eating pseudo fake
Exactly.
generic, not generic, but just like
Just
synthetic. We're like eating like
processed stuff. Yeah.
processed salt. It's like, yeah, when three of your meals were like 1,500, what is
Hmm.
it, milligrams of sodium, or is it grams? I can't remember. I think it is grams. Grams of sodium. That's a
Yeah,
lot in
grams.
one meal. So think of three of those. You eat 4,000 grams of sodium. Yeah, you sure ain't gonna want to put nothing on your food. But there's a thing: once you go whole,
Yes.
all of that sodium is removed from your diet. Then you find yourself in need of salt because you're like, man, I'm eating healthy. I'm eating nothing
Hmm.
but potatoes, meat, eggs, and asparagus. But why do I feel tired? Why, I feel a little foggy because you need salt.
Yes.
You need salt. You have to salt heavy. Like, for instance, if you go on like a carnivore diet, animal-based diet, any one of these more like what is it called? Like, elimination type of diets, you
Yes.
you better get yourself some salt. You need that salt, man, or you're gonna have all types of problems. And
Yeah.
you're gonna have no idea where it's coming from. It's so amazing. When I was doing like heavy fasting, I was on like a real cut, like a little ways back. I was like heavy fasting and I wasn't getting enough salt in. And I was getting headaches. And I swear, like right when my head starts hurting, I'll go get that
Hmm.
Redmond, put a little bit in the cap, throw it back. 20 minutes later, I feel great. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yep. That's it, man. See, I know what y'all talking about here, and let me tell you about quickly touch on dental orthodontic. And trust me, I've told you all I've been through the ringer. I got a root canal one time that I had to get removed. I felt the worst pain in my life. If you have those amalgam or mercury fillings, man, I suggest you go find a holistic dentist and deal with that because that's not good. But your teeth, your dental health is very important, and a lot of people don't realize that. Like I've learned personally about root canals, and I would never get one again. I would never do it.
I had
Um,
one too, and I never again. Yeah.
it was a horrible experience, and the guy that did it wouldn't even take it out. I had to go. I was in the worst pain, probably one of the cases of the worst pain in my life, and I went to the guy who did it. This dude said, "I don't see nothing wrong with it. I can't take it out," and I'm sitting there about to go into shock. And that same day, I had to go to an emergency dentist, and when they went there, they immediately took it out. And this is the industries and that people are depending on. And when they took that thing out, let me tell you, immediately my health started to improve. Of course, you have to have good dental hygiene overall. And like I said, you can make your own toothpaste, baking soda, coconut oil, clove, thyme oils. Some people put cinnamon and all these things, but oil
Peppermint.
pulling is great as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. You can go ahead. You jump in.
Yeah, I was gonna say peppermint.
Yeah, peppermint oil,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Make it see. Even deodorants, I tell people like, look at deodorants like this. A lot of people having reactions to the underarm from these aluminum-based paraben deodorants.
Hmm.
You, under your arms are your lymph nodes. Your lymph nodes collect toxins, and you sweat to help release those toxins. Stopping your body from releasing toxins is going to cause those lymph nodes to be inflamed. Now, I'm not saying that you can't. I know women like I got to put on something. Look, you can find it as natural as possible. You can find some people say lemon and baking soda or coconut oil or something you can make yourself. But sweat. You work out, go out on a hot, if you live in a warm climate, naturally sweat, get these toxins out. Because let me tell you, a lot of times when your body is over excessively sweating and you're not doing activity, it's trying to get rid of something. And especially if there's an odor to it, it's your body detoxing. Those
Yes.
lymph nodes are trying to release. Because that's why I was one of those people I couldn't use deodorants. I don't even the good ones. I used to, if I use them too long, I had issues.
I
And
see.
now I just wash my underarms, and if I'm going somewhere and I know I'm gonna be dressed up, I might make some deodorant or something, but I don't really have an issue. And if I work out, I just take a shower, and I don't have any issues at all, and my body feels great. So because they
Yeah,
put a you got
yeah,
it. Go ahead.
yeah. That's it's really important, man. I'm actually going to be adding a supplying a lot of these different products that I use or products that I think are good. Uh, and deodorant's one of them. So what I would suggest, always try to go the natural route. There's a lot of really good natural deodorants out now. It's kind of like
Yeah.
a whole market now. You can go to like some of these health stores and they got all kind of stuff. But man, you can keep it real simple. It depends on the person, right? Especially men,
Hmm.
we tend to have more odor. We tend to sweat more. I mean, it just
Yes.
happens to be the case. Women, it's not so much. And so it's not as big of a deal usually, generally speaking. But I would say and I use this. It's like a salt crystal.
Hmm.
It's called. I think it's even called crystal.
Oh, you know
And,
what? I think I know what
and
you're
if
talking
you
about.
see
Yeah.
it in the store, it's just this little thing. It looks like a little salt crystal. And my wife put me on. I was like, this ain't gonna do nothing for me. You know what I'm saying? Because it's what is this thing? It's not. It just didn't make any sense to me. Right? This was years
Right.
ago, and I started using it, and it's amazing. It what it does is I don't know, man. I don't know what it's just salt. That's all it is. It's salt. It's like a salt rock. It's called crystal. A lot of different cultures use it, and there's other natural oils and stuff you can use too. But what I like about the crystal is it's there's no film, there's no
Hmm.
residue, there's no smell. You just wet it and swipe it under your arm a little bit, and I don't know, it just neutralizes any type of, I guess, odor. But that it's very clean. You don't
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
worry about putting nothing in your. It's literally just a type of salt. So I don't. Yeah, the Thai crystal deodorant stick, says Tony from Yonkers. That's
Okay.
it
Cool.
right
Cool.
there.
Cool.
That's the one. That's legit. And if say you perspire a bit more and it won't like say it won't last all day, right? It'll probably last half the day if you perspire a lot. But then you could use that and then get like a very natural kind. And
Yeah.
just later in the day, if you need, a little application, you could apply a natural one if you want some type of scent or something. But it's natural, it's very cheap, it's dirt cheap, couple dollars, and it works, man. And
Yeah.
and that's and it's a serious thing, man. Deodorant is a big industry. It's poison,
Yes.
especially the one with the aluminum. It's straight up poison.
Most of that stuff is poison, like the lotions, the synthetic lotions.
Oh
Like,
man, I can't even remember the last time I put some of that crap on my body, man. Like
and a
any
lot
kind
of
of
that's
lotions, none of that stuff.
and a lot of that stuff is because people are not eating well and are not properly, like, when you eat well, you get rid of the dryness, and you get rid of like, even dandruff is more of a fungus issue because your scalp, you have your cells in your scalp have to turn over, and when that process is disrupted, you got dead cells building up on your scalp, and they kind of turn into a fungus where it becomes recurrent. And even that is a, like, relationship to candida, your diet, all this stuff about just cleansing out your body, creating a good environment. Some people making sure your blood is not what they call acidic, or from eating the right foods, because you want your stomach to be acidic, but you don't want your blood to be acidic. And your skin is a reflection of toxins and all that. So if you're having a skin problem, definitely a sign to detox. Look at what you're eating. Go out, make sure you're moving around, get your lymphatic system going. Don't be too sedentary. Don't be afraid to sweat for, if you're out sometimes, just go around for a sweat. Do something that causes you to have a sweat when your skin is bad. It's a good way to help that. And also back to the teeth, your teeth can actually remineralize. Now, this is in very ideal environments when you're not nutritionally deficient and your situation is not too bad. But I'm telling you from my personal experience that I have remineralized many, you know, not too bad cavities. That of course they will tell you that you need to get some orthodontic work, you need to get this and that other. And I said, no, if it's not bad enough for an extraction, then I can help it remineralize. And they don't want you to know this because look at the price of orthodontic work. Look at what the insurance has to pay out or what they don't cover. It's a very lucrative business, um, and to do these things. So they're always going to suggest these things. So it's on you to be aware of this system, how they make it, how motivated it is by money and not actual practicality. and what your body is actually capable of doing itself. We have to understand this. Like Dave said, starting off, your body is very resilient. It can, your body actually rebuilds itself. Certain cells rebuild itself in certain cycles. So if you eat well and stop bad habits and you just take care of yourself, you will start rebuilding yourself one system at a time. Now, every
Mm,
system has its own cycle of cell turnover, autophagy rate, but you can replace a lot of these cells that even injuries, like there are people who said, oh, I did a fast and this injury in my knee went away because, there's some talk of it activating satellite stem cells in the body. And I'm just, look, when it comes to what our body's capable of, when we take care of it, of course, by faith, even if you just believe that, your body is of the Lord and taking care of it will benefit, you never know. God usually will offer us much grace in our journey just by acknowledging Him and having
yes.
a desire to do better. And we'll get there along the way, but He definitely helps us. There's a lot of things that I didn't have much knowledge of, but I just had a desire to do better. And I've overcome a lot. And I just give glory to God from it.
Amen.
So, and then the knowledge comes later sometimes.
Yeah.
And you start to put awareness to things to maintain what you're doing. But of course, God is the one that gives us divine providence to overcome and keep going. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'd add to that. Have fun with it too.
yeah,
You know,
have fun, man.
enjoy it. Make it like for me, like I like to turn stuff into games. I have fun. Like challenges. I like challenging myself. Like, turn
Same.
something into a challenge. Okay, let's go. You know what I mean? Like that's how I do stuff. It's like if I can like turn it into some type of challenge, it just makes it more interesting. But have fun with it. And also on top of that, you know, it's a way of like, and I hate to use this because it sounds kind of generic, but it's kind of like self-love in a way. It's kind of like it's kind of like taking care of yourself, especially some of us that had hard upbringings or experienced a lot of trauma, or like abuse ourselves a lot through our life. It's a way to kind of like retract some of that or at least make up for some of it. It's
Yeah,
just
redeem some of it. Yeah.
redeem some of that. Look at it as like, what, I'm finally doing the right thing. I'm finally taking care of myself. And I know we're not supposed to have pride, but I mean, in a way, you can be a little proud of that, in a reasonably speaking, hey, I'm turning things around, and it does things. It does things that I think are positive. And shout out to Jill, mentioned wheat belly. Yeah. There's another one called grain brain, I believe. And everyone's different, right? So that's another thing. You got to figure out your body. You got to figure out what works with you. Like personally, once I cut grains out of my diet, transformed a lot of things from my gut. Now I could actually eat grains and it doesn't bother me as much. But it took me some time to go grain free, and to really clean out my gut. And raw milk helped a lot to kind of replenish some of those good bacteria, that were burned out of my system because of all of this processed stuff. So everyone's different, but for me, eliminating gluten and grain from my diet has definitely increased a lot of things in my life. But now I'm able to have a little bread here and there. I have white rice a lot more now, but white rice is a little different from say brown rice. Okay, a lot less gluten. It's a different situation. Just like, for instance, in this situation, I would say two things that we could probably say are not as much of a concern are white rice and sourdough bread. Okay, now
Yes.
those, even if you do have a wheat issue or a gluten issue, those will be the safest as far as uh, eating. But everyone's different. Some people were raised on all types of wild rice and wheat and stuff, and their gut works with it well. In
Yes.
my case, that wasn't the way it went. And I do understand gluten can have serious problems in certain systems, certain people's systems. Wheat can terrorize certain people's gut
Yes.
microbiome. So I'm not saying all bread is bad because people are different, but it is definitely something to consider if you're having any types of gut issues, skin issues, especially if you have skin issues, because I had them my whole life. If you have
Hmm.
skin issues,
Here.
eczema, fungus, any types of skin issues, reoccurring rashes, or what is it? What's the other one? Starts with a S, psoriasis, right?
So right. Yeah.
Any of these things, cut wheat, sugar, gluten out of your diet for a little while. And you'll see some transformation very, very quickly.
Man, Great info, because this is stuff that we actually do. I'm just dropping
Yeah,
your health channel.
glyphosate says Christian. Sorry, glyphosate definitely important to consider. Try to stay
Mhm.
far and away from it as possible.
And it's
By
in
all means
all the
necessary,
Red
man.
Kellogg brands. What's the other one? General Mills. All those brands of cereal from these corporations. Oh yeah, and before we get out
Oh,
of here,
real quick, Alyssa. Very good point. Very good point. Depends what kind of grains. Homemade bread with sprouted spelt flour is far different from GMO store bought varieties. Boom. Oh,
there you go.
so well said. You and this comes to knowing what you're doing, knowing what you're dealing with, knowing what you're putting in your body, and being deliberate and disciplined enough to even know this here,
Yes.
right? So again, we can't be like, oh, don't eat bread, all bread's bad. Not necessarily the
Uh,
case.
you can make your own bread too.
You can make your own bread. I would argue making your own anything is the best way to go. If you're making it yourself, you're already doing great, man. So
Exactly.
very good point. I'm sorry, man. I keep cutting you off.
No, this is what we're here for, man. I know how it is, man. It sparks up, and this is such a rich, comprehensive topic. I wanted us to really just tell our story about our health journeys, and this vast knowledge that a lot of people can relate to when it comes to a lot of things we experience. Like I said, we've overcome a lot. We are not young people in terms of like in their 20s or something, but we are still our vitality is there, our energy is there, and we want to share this knowledge and share this kind of joy and peace that we have in life in spite of all the adversity that's around us. And this is where the world wants to rob you of your vitality, of your energy, and of your joy. But there are ways that of course, within the biblical foundation, where you can still have peace and joy in life, and you can still have this vitality and this strength to go out and enjoy what you can and be grateful. Don't let this world tear you down and get you worried about everything. Notice we talk about these things, but we're not worried about these things. We actually
At
want to
all.
inspire and encourage people to not be burdened and stressed out, but simple things, very simple, easy things you can start right now to start moving you in a better direction concerning your health. And I have a video on my health channel. I think I did 7 simple things you can do
Mhm.
right now to start your health. It's a very practical, easy video. We don't want to, this stuff is not stuff that's going to break your pockets. It's not stuff that you have to go get a thesaurus or dictionary to understand. Very simple things that the world is trying to deflect us from and hide the original design that we were to live in from our very mind. So we're just trying to bring that to people because there's a level of indoctrination that we've all had to come out of, and people are at various levels with this information. And sometimes it just takes somebody who is willing to present information in a very simplistic but practical way, especially when you're living it. You can usually relate information very simply because you're living it daily, and this is what we do. We live this stuff daily. So yeah, I definitely go and sub to Brother Days of Noah's health channel, Making Moves, because that's what he's doing. He's out here making moves in so many ways. And I thank you all. Like, share, subscribe if you like this content. We've been doing multiple channels, and the health thing. We both have our own unique, vast information sources and lifestyle experiences to share. So definitely go out and sub to his channel. I'm sure many of you all.
Don't be freaked out when there's no content there. Don't worry. Once
It,
the content start flowing, it's gonna be too much for you to deal with. So I'm
you
just
see how we
have
did
some
this, man.
patience with me, man.
Man, we got patience. We know what you're doing, man. We can see your work and your progress. But you see, we here we wanted the stream to happen, and here it is. It happened, and this is a stream that we've been planning for a while. It's just that we had to wait for the right timing and opportunity to get it done. But the time is now, and just like this, the time for now. There's a lot coming down the pike, so
Mm.
just be ready, man. I know people are bored with this monotonous uh, unproductive content on, on social media now. But trust me, there are people who actually care about your real life, who want to give you practical wisdom that you can relate in your living today to help you overcome things that are trying to rob your life of joy and peace. So, anything else you want to say before we get up and on out of here, bro? I thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Of course, man, honored, man, to have you here. Um, and a lot of people, you come from him. So thankful the new people who came through, showing love. Please hit that like button. Um, Anything you want to say
Hey,
before we get
man,
up on out of here?
I think you wrapped it up pretty well. I think we covered most topics we wanted to cover. I think we said, for the most part, what we wanted to say. So yeah, man,
Yeah,
I'm good. I'm just thankful to be here, man. And this is a good start, a good kickoff. You know, now I got to follow this up with my first post, which I basically have done. I just have to change a couple things on it, add a couple things. And yeah, man. Oh, taurine. Yeah, shout out to Jill. I daily do taurine. I'll cycle off of it here and there, but taurine's great. Aside from
yeah.
salt, I was gonna mention. I guess I do have something to say. Huh? What is it? Magnesium.
Oh yeah,
Magnesium is
definitely.
important. I
Hmm.
think if everyone
Super
could
important.
add a magnesium supplement to their diet, I think you might. And that's with the clean eating. A lot of people, oh, I just
Yes.
got to buy supplements and I can eat what I want. No, don't work that way. Get clean up the diet a bit, and it doesn't be perfect, but clean it up a bit. Try to get as whole as possible, and then add some magnesium. I like magnesium glycinate. I take it
Yes.
before bed. It's I mean it's
Helps
lovely.
you sleep.
It helps you sleep. It's good for the
It's the master
muscles.
mineral. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
master mineral to regulate all other minerals. Let me tell you, a lot of things deplete our body of magnesium. So it's one of those minerals that your body is always being depleted of. And you can like magnesium is basically the green from chlorophyll that you get from plants, but it's
Mm.
also a rich soil nutrient that the animals eat, the green, so they get that magnesium. But because everything is the balance of the life cycle is off, we're not getting enough magnesium, and that causes a lot of anxiety, a lot of jittery behavior,
Big
a lot
time.
of calm, and a lot of issues about being calm and sleeping well.
Muscle
Magnesium, yeah,
spasms. What
muscle
is it? What
spasm,
they call it? Sleep. What leg? What is it?
restless leg.
Restless leg. All that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely magnesium is huge. I've been taking it for years. So if
It's
you
been a
want,
couple for me, but man, it's changed a lot, man.
yeah,
I'm kind of just got hip to this a couple years ago, but yeah,
definitely that was a great catch. Magnesium. I
yeah,
do
magnesium.
black seed oil as well. What else do I do? I have a lot, man. I can't even go through.
I got a
That's a whole
lot.
nother,
I don't do anything every day other
yeah.
than
Let your body rest.
yeah, magnesium daily, vitamin C usually daily. Um, taurine I've been daily lately. It's great, but really, and that's it. Zinc, zinc.
Yeah, zinc
I'll
for
take
men
a day.
especially.
Yeah, I'll take a daily zinc, a little magnesium, some taurine, and maybe some vitamin C. And I have a giant thing of all sups, but I kind of cycle.
Yeah,
Like I'll add like some selenium. Some quercetin. Uh, I
man, you
you know
reading from my cabinet over
I just,
there.
I go through I just try to make sure my system has
Right,
these things, these elements, these minerals flowing through it. You don't have to take things every day because we don't want to get saturated. We don't want to have too much of these minerals and things in our systems to the point
right.
where they might become toxic because we're all different, right?
Yeah,
So it's like it's even though I might say take this daily, twice a day, okay, do it
mm,
for a few weeks, or do it for a few months,
yeah.
and then get off for maybe a couple weeks, get back on. That's how I do.
If you're
I
eating,
cycle
especially, and this is supplementing a healthy diet, a healthy, uh,
supplementing. Yeah.
yeah, like when you're eating well already, you could take the time off because you're just boosting yourself. Because a lot of times when you're working out, especially when you're working out, you're exhausting your mineral supply. So we have to replace these minerals because we have some grueling workouts, or we have a lot of issues. Even the times of high stress, high exertion, your body might need extra minerals, but you have to know your body and know what specific minerals to do, because you don't always need a spectrum of a lot of things,
Yes.
because that's where you can get toxicity, and some of these things build up in your tissues, and there's a kidney and liver issue with this burdening your body with supplements. It's designed for food, and even foods we should we intermittent fast and we take breaks and we don't overeat. We eat in moments of need when we have extra exertion and activity. So it's important to rest and recovery, not just your muscles, but your entire body. Your digestive system needs to rest, just like your muscles, your parasympathetic nervous system, your sympathetic nervous system, the whole neuromuscular connection, all of that needs to rest.
Yes.
So your circulatory system, cayenne pepper is great
Oh, I
to
love it. Yeah.
man. It talk about blood circulation. If you have blood circulation issues, cut the sugar out. Cayenne pepper, a little garlic, um, raw onions. If you can make that raw onion is like a salad or something. A raw onion is good for if you have any issue with mucus or something like that. Raw onion is great.
Garlic. Hmm.
Garlic, yeah, mix it in. I blended in some like cold pressed pineapple juice, um, and ginger root. Definitely a go for circulation and stomach. Garlic, lemons, orange peel. When I do lemon and orange, I also boil the peel.
Mm.
Clean it in baking soda and vinegar
Hmm.
because they spray all kinds of crap on the fruits and vegetables. So I
Hmm.
always have a good storage of vinegar and baking soda, good quality baking soda, so you can sterilize your fruits and vegetables.
Man, speaking about vinegar, man, and baking soda, man, I mean, this is a different topic. We'll maybe discuss another time, but the cleaning products, you
Yes,
got to be careful what cleaning products you're using because these things are,
forever chemicals.
endocrine disruptors, and
Hmm.
they do all kind of things like cleaning with bleach. Man, live my whole life using bleach, man. It's actually really not good for you. So, you can make very simple diluted vinegar solutions for cleaning, and you'd be
Yes.
amazed at how much they really do a good job at cleaning. Now this is the struggle, the smell.
Yep.
Trying to get you, it's hard. Okay, like, when we do our cleaning, say in the bathroom, or if we do the kitchen floor, and
Mhm.
we going over that thing with a vinegar solution, so it's gonna smell a little right after that. It might not be very, appealing. That's the hardest part, to deal with the smell of vinegar. But it's a great cleaning product, and it doesn't attack your cellular system like a lot of these cleaning
Right.
products do.
And if you have wood floors, you can add some olive oil, lemon, and
Hmm.
essential oils to
There we go.
clean. And add essential oils or get an oil diffuser. There's natural essential oils that you can use, not these spray things, but a natural scents with essential oils and sprays that you can make yourself, to add some scent to the house. The essential oils are potent. You know
Very
about
potent.
lavender and
Hmm.
peppermint.
Got them
Just a
all at
little
home.
bit of that, just a
Hmm.
little bit can fumigate the house, and it keeps
Yes.
away ants. And if
Do you
you're
have
out there in the
do you
country,
have a diffuser? One of those little diffusers?
I never use it, but
Yeah, I
I
got
use
one.
the oils like in cleaning stuff. So I
Yeah.
kind of when I clean, I'm always using something with the oils in it. So it's like
Mhm.
the whole house smells like a whole bunch of nice oils. So it's always a nice scent, and that's a clean smell. You can tell it's
Yeah.
not that toxic
Yes.
chemical smell that like makes you nauseated.
Yeah,
Like
it
the way you
gives you a
feel.
headache.
Yeah, the way you feel, it's like you can tell what's bad. Just
Yeah,
like
get that stuff
what
on your skin, you be itching and red and
man,
scaly. That
exactly.
can't be good for you. I
Nah,
went
not at
I
all.
went as far as like I told you this. I went as far as like rigging one of those Swiffer things. You know how you got
Yeah,
those,
yeah.
and it has a little bottle, and you squeeze
Mhm.
it and it sprays it out, and I like rigged it where I put my solution inside of the Swiffer. So now, man, I just pull that thing out.
That's
Man,
ingenuity right there.
it's awesome. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it because I like the little mechanism of that thing. It just makes things easier. It's quick. It's convenient. But it's the chemicals in there that I don't like. So I fixed that. Yeah, borax is another one. I got a big old box of that. I use it in laundry. I mean,
Yeah, I put in my laundry too.
it's the
Yeah.
way to go, man.
Yeah,
I
'cause
like Lysol says cookie cruncher. I love what was it? It starts with a P. Um, gosh, it's like Lysol. It's a yellow. It's like that lemon stuff. What is it called? Starts
I
with a
can't remember.
P. It's like a yellow can. It smells like lemon. You clean
Oh,
like wood
yeah,
with
I
it.
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I used to
Yeah,
love
that
that
smells
stuff,
good.
but
Yeah,
yeah, no
yeah.
more, man. Don't
No
use that
more,
stuff no
man.
more, man.
Yeah, and don't use bug spray. Use essential oils because that's a neurotoxin. That Raid stuff is super toxic.
Yeah,
Get some
yeah,
essential oils and clean your
yeah.
house often, and you won't have no problems.
It's amazing how those few things, whether it's baking soda,
Mhm.
vinegar, lemon juice,
Yes.
essential oils, these very basic natural substances can clean anything, can
Man,
lift anything. It's
they get
amazing how we have all the stuff we need, but then you got this massive cleaning product industry. No disrespect to
mhm.
people that might work for these companies. I understand that. Listen,
Right, right, right.
there's a world we're in. But it's just amazing to me when I realize this. Like, we got everything we need. We have everything we need. I guess essentially speaking.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, man. Anyhow, Pine Sol, not Pine Sol, though I used to use a lot of Pine Sol back in
Yeah,
the
me
day.
too.
Pledge.
I
Pledge.
think
That's
that's
what,
our generation.
yeah, our generation, right? The Pine Sol commercials. Pledge. That's
Mhm.
what I was thinking of. Pledge.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
grandmother used to have me
Yeah,
spraying that
man.
everywhere, man. You know,
Everywhere, man.
she's like, that was my thing on Saturday is the polish of all, the old school people had a lot of wood, man.
Yeah, yeah,
So you had to
man.
polish all that wood up.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. But man,
Anyhow, man.
I thank you for coming through, man. This has been sharpening me up and keeping me, even more motivated, to know that there are other people out here who have the passion and drive to continue to push through and improve your health and share this information. This is vital right now. We're not spreading no fear and propaganda. We're giving valuable information for people who want to be self accountable and responsible for their bodies the way God wanted us to be. He
Mhm.
gave us a mind with senses and a mind to reason how our body should function in a healthy environment. So, yeah, that's cool, man. So, on that
Amen.
note, thank you for coming through. As always, bro. Look, we be working on our other class. We just, I told you I had my floor issue, and
Too
look,
much going on right
it's
now,
a lot
man.
going on, but we were always working in the background. I don't think we just slacking.
Always.
Always working in the background. So
Man. We got more
and
content in the background than we have on YouTube.
yeah, exactly. But
Uh,
it's just going to give us more time to keep consistently between all the channels and the other people that within the network that we do. Man, it's a lot of stuff that's about to happen. So glad you all can be a part of it. We are a minority in this world that are actually doing something proactive and responsible instead of just sending people to do stupid things to their bodies.
yes.
That's all I'm gonna say on that.
We, we
But
we want our life back, man. We want
yeah,
our
man.
life back, man.
All right, thank y'all. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit that on the way out. And that's it, man. We can call it a day.
All right.
So we thank God for bringing us here to, of course, we give Him glory in all of this, and we
All
pray
right.
that we stay edified in His Word and stay protected from evil, and we preach the gospel out there so that people can come out of darkness and then value the knowledge that we give, because people in darkness are not going to perceive what we're saying until they come out of the darkness.
Mhm.
And that's what Christ sets people free from, is that sin. And then once they come out of sin, man, they can see the knowledge that's freely out here to live and actually live well.
Amen.
All right. Peace and blessings, y'all. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
Peace.